everybody. I'm assuming we're going live on quite a few platforms at the moment, and that would be thanks to Joe Manji Booth, who's been helping me here in New Zealand, getting it all hooked up. And we are really honoured to be live streamed on the Unity4J channel as well, which is fantastic reach. I couldn't actually get my channel working up, Alex Hills, but we will also show a whole bunch of snippets of this on my channel as well. So I'm joined tonight, tonight for New Zealand, by an assortment of wonderful supporters from all around the world. A lot of them have come to be known by me because of Candles for Assange, which I don't know if many people know because it's so heavily based in Germany, thanks to Patrick Patash. But it did originally start in New Zealand when we put some candles down for Julian's 47th birthday. And so right now, I'm pretty excited that we've got so many people getting on board here on New Zealand online protest. I've never done one before, so you're going to have to bear with me a little bit. I will introduce some of the other people that are going to be joining with us, and I'm hoping to be reading out a statement from Nikki Hager, who I contacted earlier tonight, and he's not real keen on Zoom, but he is really keen to give us a statement. So hopefully that will pop up on my email while we're doing this. But without further ado, I really want to start with Commander X because he is actually the first Anon to get asylum, and he's got the first person to get asylum at all, political asylum, and he's in Mexico right now. And he's busy tweeting out to his many followers, and hopefully we can get them on board and helping us with these virtual protests for the moment, but hopefully with a view to getting back on the street, and also getting really vocal with our local MPs and our local media headquarters, NGOs, that sort of thing. And so now, if I can, I'll hand it over to you, please, Commander X.
Hand it over. Wait a minute. No. Hi, everybody. Welcome. I didn't get it out to my followers yet. What I need the social media people to do, either Unity4J or you guys tweet it out with my Twitter handle. Like say, hey, Commander X is on right now, and then I'll go retweet it. We'll get like more peeps. But hi, everybody. Sort of a surprise drop-in visit to. What is this anyway? Is this the Unity4J Vigil? Like, is this what eventually evolved into, or I'm confused what I'm even.
So what you've got here is says Alex is from Candles4Assange, who is part of Unity4J. I'm one of the technical leads behind Unity4J, and so I've enabled Alex to share out this New Zealand flavour of the march, the virtual march around the world. So all of you fine people are essentially virtually marching. Many of us are locked down through COVID-19 or other means, so we can't march the streets, but we're all here live in support of Julian Assange, and it's a year since he was ripped out of the embassy and stuck into where he is currently. So that's essentially the background to why we're here.
Well, that makes sense. Anyway, I'm glad to be here. I don't have any particular statement. My statement is always the same: free Julian Assange. So I think we need to do what we need to do to get that done. I think we're being a bit optimistic to start discussing things like street protests right now. That's my personal opinion. If anybody's asking it, I think you should stay at home for now. And that's just the way I think it's going to be for a minute. And we only got about a minute until Julian makes the real meat of this trial is going to be in May, right? So it's right around the corner. Literally, we're right around the corner. I remember the last time I came on this I think it's this particular show, I mentioned, and it's really strange, my advice was that online protest was more or less should wrap up and we should all hit the street. And this was pre-corona, literally just pre-corona, when I appeared, and everybody was really gung-ho to do that. Well, we have a problem. It's like, sometimes there are things that are huger than even us. And this thing that's happening in the world right now is one of those things. So my personal advice is to stay, distant from people, do your social distancing, wear your mask and your gloves when you go out, and just try not to go out really at all, ever, and for a while. And it's going to be that way for a while. I think, therefore, we need to do the exact opposite of what I advised the last time. We need to immediately do a 180. And that's where a movement proves itself to be worthy, because a movement needs to be flexible. And so we need to do a 180, and we need to pivot back onto cyber protest. Okay? And this is something that Anonymous, especially, which if anybody knows where I'm coming from, that's where I'm coming from. Okay, that's my perspective. And there's all sorts of, it doesn't have to be transgressive protest either. You can do Twitter storms, you can do legitimate email campaigns where you don't spam, you just send a single well-written message to people in power. All of these things take time to organize, they take time to post on websites, they take time to push them out. And now you have all kinds of time, because if you're doing what I believe personally is the right thing, then you're in your home and you've got all sorts of time, right? So I think that we just have to accept this reality, because I know for a fact that if we were to ask Julian, would he want a single person, a single individual that can even contract this disease for the sake of protesting his liberty, he would say no. This is my personal experience with Julian, which he would say no. I know that he wants to be safe, and I know that he wants all of us. So we have to pivot to cyber protest, and I think that should be your topic on these sorts of live streams. You should focus on that heavy and organize that and make that happen. We've got all sorts of time, and I think we have too an interesting opportunity, if you will, because we have a lot of new young people that have come into the idea of cyber activism in general sort of sideways. They've come in through this Free Julian movement. And so now all of a sudden they find themselves in the world of the cyberpunk. They find themselves in the world of information activism. And so I think that there's a lot that you could stand to learn from times when cyber activism was also the only way to go, or one of the major ways to go. It's pretty easy to gather in the streets from a tactical point of view. It's a little bit more difficult. It's much more powerful and much more effective, I think you'll find, cyber activism. But it's also much more difficult. There's a learning curve. It requires that you actually do it. So it requires you put down the video game controller or the endless Netflix season after season of television that you're gorging on, and get online and actually roll up your sleeves. And you'll get a feel for what cyber activists like myself, if you're wondering what it's like to be Commander X, well, that's the shit that I do every day, no matter what. That's my job. That's my life, is cyber activism, right? That's why I've become who I am. So if you're wondering what it's like to be an Anon, you're wondering what it's like to be a hacktivist, well, roll up your sleeves, get up on Twitter, and find out, because this is what it is.
And how are you finding things like the algorithm bubble? Because what concerns me about having to be forced into this purely online, which I fully agree with you. Right now, we are definitely in a position where we have to make sure everyone is safe. But I feel like how do we get in a position where we're not so preaching to the converted? Because that's my experience of social media, is just pure frustration, because you're only really talking to a select group of people. And even
I will answer your question, but you may not like the answer, and some of the people listening may not like it. The answer, again, lies with a movement that is already readily available to everyone. Anyone literally can be anonymous. You just simply self-identify. That is, and those ideas have already been put forward. What it means that you have to get a bit more transgressive. It's no different than protesting on the street. So, for instance, you described a bunch of really super legal, just now, things and ways, right? Well, maybe you've got to stretch it. Who knows? I think that you're going to see Anonymous get quite active in the free Julian thing. They also have a lot of time on their hands.
Yeah, so, to those of us without tech skills, we cannot even imagine getting to that level. And I guess there's always the concern that we need to keep the movement honest and, not try to keep it as positive as possible. But, it's getting the game that they're playing.
What I mean is that you got to strike a balance. So, for instance, there are gray areas of cyber activism. One of the things about storms and email campaigns, we did a storm and an email campaign for my political asylum, and it actually ended up crashing the Mexican government email servers by accident. It really wasn't meant to be. We wanted people to write individual messages to the president and foreign secretary and whatnot. We didn't intend to crash the service, but it did. I guess what I'm saying is you just need to get louder and you need to get more robust. It's no different than if you were on the street and it wasn't working. Let's say you were marching around and you were having a movement. Well, for instance, the Free Julian Assange movement. And we saw that. We saw things ramping up. We began to see banner drops. I got news for you. A banner drop is 100% illegal. You can go to jail. And guess what? It's no different than defacing the front page of a website. It's the exact same freaking thing. Okay, it's that quickly fixed. It's that cheaply fixed. And both things are the same. They're analogous, okay? And when you talk about having a sit-in, would you have a sit-in for Julian? Would you agree to a sit-in for Julian? Would you? Okay, you would.
They've been doing it in Brisbane.
Okay, well, wait. Let me finish then. Please let me finish because I got political asylum for a sit-in. I got political asylum for a virtual sit-in that we did for homeless people in Santa Cruz, California. That's my story. That's why I'm here. We did a virtual sit-in. So before dissing or worrying about pushing the boundaries of transgressive cyber protest, understand that, first of all, some of this stuff really, the Mexican government is saying, that cyber protest, even transgressive protest, in my case, is a legitimate form of protest. What I'm saying is we just need to be open-minded and we need to get louder. We need to get bolder. Definitely, if you are in the camp, like of never, ever doing anything that's illegal, fine. But guess what? Take a step back when you see the rest of us, like say, for instance, Anonymous stepping up and doing something else. And understand that, like, I remember Keith McHenry from Food Nut Bombs when we defended him, when Anonymous did cyber attacks in Orlando, Florida, to defend him. He's a friend of mine, actually. And he said, Food Nut Bombs neither condemns nor do they condone the attacks that Anonymous has done on their behalf. And that's a perfect way to stand when your allies decide that maybe we're going to take it a little further. All I'm saying is if we're going to do cyber protests, we've got to be open-minded, we've got to think outside the box, and we've got to be really fucking loud. I mean, loud to the point where, in some countries, some of the things are going to be illegal. Guess what? DDoS is not illegal in Mexico. You know what I mean? I just don't have anybody to defend Julian to attack here. So,
I'm definitely not in disagreement with that action going on. Just I guess I'm one of those people that would be clueless and also very public social media profile. I've got no anon stuff going on.
I'm just saying there's all sorts of ways to help out. I think just the one thing is to pay attention, do it, put some hours in. Cyber activism, whether it's a pure white or pure black, but spend a lot of time on it, folks, because we've got a lot of time to spend, and that's all we've got left. So we've got to make it count. So form an army up, and
Today,
and get
earlier
busy.
at the Sydney, Ian Rose can also speak to this. We got hacked, we got attacked, and we had to shut it down. But one of the discussions
That's a
that
good
was
thing.
had,
It just means you're making waves. That's
yeah,
a good thing.
that was a
That
Sydney
just means
one.
you're making waves.
Yeah.
Another hacker will come along and help you secure that.
Yeah.
Another hacker will help you fix it.
That's right. Yeah. So one of the discussions we had actually was that seeing as we're having to ramp up getting government on board, was actually creating schedules potentially to make, get people online resources to actually go and meet with their MPs in small groups, or online at the moment, but actually doing it every hour in a day and having a focus in different constituencies, which I think is something that Truman has been doing in London as well. And also there was talk of, different ways to activate those kind of NGOs and media companies and the people that we can still contact and bombard with messages. But of course, those are all the sort of legal ways of going about things that we can really help give people resources for. But it doesn't in any way undermine what you're doing at all. And I appreciate all actions of any kind. So.
I'd like to give a shout out to Unity for J,
yeah.
First of all. And I'd like to point out that, not to brag, but I was there for the very first vigil. And, we worried tonight about being online really late. It's, 2 a.m. here, 3 a.m. here, and we're talking about batteries running out and everything. I and Elizabeth Voss and Susie Dawson spent 36 hours straight broadcasting. We never stopped.
Right, yeah.
And we had multiple live streams going out on a dozen different platforms.
Yeah.
And that went on, at least weekly, and they were at least 24 hours long. And that is, something that I will probably never forget. I was really amazed that it went on as long as it did, but I think that perhaps somebody needs to consider bringing something that strong back. That was strong medicine back then.
Well,
it's long, and it's really fucking hard to organize.
Action for Assange have been doing it ever since Unity4J stopped doing the live vigils. So have you ever come across Action for Assange?
I think that we need to go along with these and just keep rotating, keep the guests. I'm willing to pitch in. I can.
Can I just break, because I think Paddock is just going live at the moment.
Good evening. This is Paddock Radio. My name is Josh Johnson. We're live to air from Waiheke Island in New Zealand. We're actually on a Zoom call right now, a Zoom webinar chat with the Candles4Assange team. And we've been talking with teams from around the world. We just heard from Commander X, who is actually, we're going out live on our channels right now. Now, unfortunately, I'm not able to use any headphones, so I can't take any questions right now, but I'll just tell you what we're doing from our end. Every single time we go live to air, we are talking about Assange. We fully support free and independent media. Now, what this means is that we want to make sure that people are able to get their messages out no matter where they are. If you've never heard of Paddock Radio before, basically what we do is I am a 100% solar-powered radio station that travels all the way up and down New Zealand, from festival gigs and outdoor gigs. Give me a thumbs up if my audio is coming through all right. Are you guys picking it up? Yeah, nice. Thank you very much. Okay, so basically, I heard Commander X talking about hacktivism, and I am very, very into this, because one of our main problems is getting audio and video feeds out to the internet. Now, at the moment, we're streaming we're using a restream service, restream.io. We stream out to our YouTube channel, our Facebook page. We're streaming to our Twitter account, which is Periscope. And we're also streaming on our very own website, paddock.radio.net. And we trying to do reports every week about what's actually going on with lockdown, and especially with the Zooms that have been coming up around the country lately, trying to touch base on things that people necessarily feel about the openness of the internet and the way that it's changed so far, and the way that we can support people for getting more online and getting more of their opinions out there without having it squashed by large media. And what I'm really finding is that there's a lot of ways that you can do this that are fully open source as well. I've seen Jitsi Meet has been bandied around a couple of times. I know Zoom's working quite well. We have got a connection at the moment with all of the Candles for Assange crew online. And personally, I really heavily support this because I believe that journalism is something that it's not just something that big news channels do, okay? And it's not something that if you've been to university for 3 years and you've got a job and a hat and a camera and you're getting paid X amount to do something. I believe that information exchange is one of the most important catalysts for the way that human society has moved as a whole in recent memory, and certainly since, ever since the Library of Alexandria burned down. We haven't had such a huge free exchange of information that has gone absolutely worldwide. And I think it's such a massive catalyst for social change and a massive catalyst for how we act as a species. And we've seen it go from both good and bad. We've also seen how people have been using social medias as an emotional contagion. A paper just came out by Princeton University that's on our website at the moment, talking about how people see X amount of negative words in their social feeds or media feeds that can go into newspaper headlines and Twitter feeds, Reddit feeds. All of those sorts of things count as something like this. So one of the main ways that you can combat that is by making sure that you positive flooding, we call it. So here at the station, we try and pack a whole bunch of things into a couple of days and try and flood news feeds as much as we can with not just one message, but overwhelming changes in it. To number one, it'll change a little bit of the way the Facebook algorithm filters things. But number two, we call it, it's almost like the shotgun approach. You would get this in media and marketing, where if you throw 20 balls at somebody, they're probably likely to catch one. But if you throw them one at a time, then they're more likely to catch a larger amount of these. And that's one of the strategies that we're trying to adopt here at Paddock Radio, is where if we are going to be talking about issues and trying to improve the digital lives and digital communication lives of people, not just our followers, but maybe you can go out and tell other people, hey, this is what we learned. This is how I figured it out. If you're feeling really horrible, maybe stop watching so much horrible television or reading so many horrible articles about things. And the main way that you can get that is by having an independent media, or having an option for an independent media, which is growing less and less as we've been watching, since the 1950s. Now, I'm not sure how we would change this, but I'm really interested in the discussion about it. I think currently what we've just been doing has been trying to flood as many online channels with positive and original content as well. So we try and talk to people that are not necessarily on every cover or not every magazine, but get an original report from somewhere on the ground, from people like you guys who are sitting at home with your cameras on and talking about what our experiences are. I find this really, really important part of the discussion. And I'd like to thank you very much for being a part of it. And thanks for letting me on the Zoom channel as well. I'm going to shut my audio down so I could take some questions, possibly. See if it works. It might just make a big squeaking noise.
Okay. Does anyone want to ask any questions? And is anyone really eager to be next because they have to go or anything like that? I'll have a look through the people that are actually on my screen here right now and see if anyone. What about you, Nat? Are you keen to have a chat? Are you keen to chat now? Would you like to talk to Paddock or ask any questions of Paddock or anyone else? No?
Just, I want to say hello to Commander. How are you?
I think it's Commander muted, unmute.
Nice, okay. Hi, Nat. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
Thank you for setting this up, Nat.
I know, it's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Pleasure.
Well, you sent the right person. I'll do anything for Nat. So.
Yeah, I'd like to say a big shout out to Commander X as well. Thanks for your support, and I really support everything you're doing as well.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
Well, I like everything he had to say. I mean, I don't know if he can hear me. It's a shame. I'm
He
not
can hear
sure, but
you.
if he can hear me, then what I would say to him is, I think you're absolutely on the right track. And here's what I have to say about independent media. I got involved in independent media a long time ago, right around 2000 actually.
I should tell you you're actually on air at the moment.
Okay, well, thank you. I'll make sure not to use any curse words.
You can say whatever you want.
I will try not to drop any F-bombs, but I'd like to say that I worked closely with Amy Goodman back in the early 2000s. She's a real pioneer, I think, more than any of us in the independent media movement. And I'd like to say that what I believe is that people who dig media, people like yourself who dig doing it and dig producing, I do. I produced a little bit of video and radio myself. I've even done some gaming streaming, so I can tell you that streaming is quite popular in all sorts of areas you wouldn't even imagine. It's a very good way to get people to pay attention to things and to get connected. And I would like to encourage people to not have this dichotomy in your mind of mainstream media versus you. You don't have to necessarily be all campy. You can download OBS Studio and produce a very professional, very nice, very even commercially viable stream and collect shit tons of donations, which you absolutely deserve, because then you can get better cameras and better microphones and just take off with it. Don't be afraid to be pro. I guess is what I'm saying. Don't be afraid to believe that you can be pro.
Well,
because you can put out a nice product that is just don't think of it like, oh my God, mainstream media, how do I ever be a TV show or a radio thing that could ever compare to that? Don't fuck that. You're your own media now, and they have so much technology that at the point and click of a button, you can do a TV station on your lap.
That is stupid.
Commander X, can I put someone else on, and just because Patrick is someone who has really run with this movement, and also really I've seen posts from him on Facebook from 2010. He really has been on Chelsea Manning and Julian Assange from the very beginning. And I was kind of bewildered when my little birthday celebration that I was then trying to push further afterwards became basically Candles for Assange with the regular protests. So if I can, and I'm very happy to come back to people who want to talk more, but I really want to hear from Patrick Bratish. Can I unmute you now, Patrick, and bring you into the conversation? Thank you for all you've done in Germany. It's just incredible.
Thank you for having me. So, what do you want to know?
Oh, talk to us. Tell us your thoughts, where you started, I guess, and also what you see as the way forward. I mean, you can talk about the solo vigils that you've been doing, which is sort of like a We Are Millions, Candles for Assange style.
And anything to say? Don't forget
anything to say. Yeah.
I was just thinking about where can you hear me? Is this quality is good?
Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking about where I've been last year at this time, and I can really I can really good remember what was going on 1 year ago, because I was checking out the Rapley stream in front of the embassy, because if you remember, some days before it was not clear if he was if somebody wants to get him out of the embassy or not. So I was really spending hours in front of my screen and just watching this Rapley RT live stream in front of the embassy without any words for hours. And I think it was a Wednesday, 11th of April last year. and I was not paying attention at this time when they got him out. So somebody called me and said, "No, they got him." And I turn on my computer and YouTube and watch this video, and I can't find the actual footage where he was dragged out of the embassy. But my girlfriend at this time found it, and she was saying, "Don't do it, don't watch it, don't do it." And I found it then, and I was looking at these terrible 30 seconds when they drag him out, and this was such a impressive and heavy experience for me to see him coming out of the embassy looking like this, and I need really some days to realize what's really going on. So these are my thoughts today, because this activates so many people all over the world, I think, because I'm doing this since 2010, I think, fighting for justice for Mr. Assange and Chelsea Manning. And there are not so many people join me, but the last year, so many people came and start fighting for Mr. Assange, got known of what's going on, and these are my thoughts today.
Something that came up in today's action was the idea of how we spread things further and so on, which I'm picking up from what Commander X was talking about earlier. How do we do that and so on? I think one of the things to do is to actually connect the Assange issue with whatever other issue it is you might be talking about on a Facebook page. Like, say it's something to do with, or media is an easy one, but climate's another one, because it's the same climate denialists. They're the same vulture capitalists that are keeping us from hearing things like Julian Assange and so on. So that might mean for us to have to join some right-wing crazy pages as well as just regular climate action pages and so on. But tie the story in, perhaps, if we try and tie the story in, because I know one thing that we do at STORC, Support Assange and WikiLeaks Coalition Sydney. Now, we've been going only since 2011, not quite as since 2010 as many of you others have, but we have two things. We've got a public Facebook page and a private discussion Facebook page, and on that private one we have a system where you've got to be on topic or you're taken off. And a lot more pages are doing that sort of thing now. So I think if we are going on to a climate action page, for example, we have to be on topic. We draw it in. So we're posting up an Assange article, but we're talking about why this is relevant to the greater movement. So I just wanted to put that out there to you all, and all the best.
Is there anyone else who would like to have a chat about, their experiences in supporting Julian Assange and what it means to be unable to protest many others?
After this, because I was not really finished, I saw Alex Vigil every year and join in at his birthday, and from this time on, I started weekly vigils, and I was really alone at the first day, but I doubled up every week. So the second year we were 2 or 4, and then we become very quickly, anytime, more than 30 people until now. And when we're able to go outside, we continue these vigils, of course. I would like to ask the question, isn't it more effective to come together, all these different countries, cities, and make actions parallel, so we can all more get this is more effective, I think. You know, there are virtual in Australia and in Germany, and all these but it's not at the same time. It's not in the same menu. It's not the same direction. I think we can be more effective if we bundle up and make the same at the same time and act like one.
Definitely, that was one of the ideas behind the Unity for J movement. There was so many sort of little pockets of people who were doing their own little bit, and the idea that we could all come together as one, and we could unite. And the internet brings that to the fore, and certainly from my perspective as the technical director of the Internet Party in New Zealand, the reason why we came together for that very first hashtag Reconnect Julian vigil was that we saw that communication between people and between people who had a really or a great idea of what was going on. I mean, Julian Assange and his take on geopolitics and his vision and his light, what he could tell, was something that the world missed as soon as he was disconnected. So our first vigil was about reconnecting Julian, and we soon found that there was so many people around the world that needed that voice that needed to be able to be put out to the world that we continued, and it did turn into a weekly thing, and it did continue on for quite some time. Certainly once, and sort of Susie Dawson and Elizabeth, they've all continued on with various streams of this and certainly supporting it, and Alex came in as part of that. Myself, I've continued helping out with a lot of things. I still look back to the days when we started this Unity for J Discord server, and overnight there was hundreds and hundreds of people that just jumped in to say hello, and they wanted to help, they wanted to do something. So I totally agree with you, Patrick. The internet is a great enabler of people to collaborate and communicate, and I think this is evidence of it. There's people from all around the world gathered to support Assange, and in this time, it's incredible.
Great. Thanks, Joe, for taking that for a little while. And I think I've sorted out the screen now, so it looks a little bit more beautifully laid out. So we have a whole bunch of other people in the stream here, and I'm looking up on my screen. I'm just wondering who else would like to have a little chat at this point. We've got Sally. Have we got Sally there? Yeah, Sally's there. Can I unmute you, miss? Please talk away, Sally. Are you going to do anything for us? I can't hear anything from you. You're going to have to talk. No unmuting from them. We just get a screen. So I don't know if they need to share sound or something. But what about you, Fiona? Would you like to have a little chat? I'll unmute you.
I noticed Alison put her hand up earlier as well.
Oh, Alison, sorry, I wasn't looking at the right screen at that point. So let me go back and have a look. That's good, because other people are seeing all the screens. I can't even find Alison anymore. Is she still there? There you are. Okay, and you're muted. I'll unmute you. And so Alison is running really well, was running really regular events in London, and I guess we're just going to get an update now on what's been happening in London and whether you've attended any of the other events that other people are running there, and whatever you would like to share, really.
Okay, hi everyone. Yeah, it's all happening here in London. Not. We were doing a lot of stuff. We were doing candles in Trafalgar Square. We were doing regular actions, the court actions, Belmarsh vigils, heaps of stuff. And we took it to Mike Pompeo, which was the best. My most fun moment was the day we took it to Mike Pompeo when he came to town to talk policy with the British people, and probably back dealing with them. And we got wind of where he was. So we all went down with a protest, which was 5 of us, because it was like late, short notice and everything. But we just had the best time yelling out, "War criminal, you will rot in hell. war criminal, war criminal. We had so much fun. It was, you know, the adrenaline was pumping that day. But yeah, or as we are under lockdown here with a terrible coronavirus bill, which does, you know, take away every single liberty, basically, including the freedoms of the rights of disabled and the elderly. So it super looks like they're trying to kill people off. We are doing a little vigil today with banners outside the jail with masks and gloves, and we're just going to put the banners in situ on the 1 year anniversary and take some photos for social media. But we'll all be 2 meters apart from one another, and it's right out in the open. There'll be no one there. Don't worry about us. I agree with what's been said so far, especially with coming together and combining, and I put the address of a wiki page, challengepower.info, on the message there, that people can add their vigils, what's going on in their neck of the woods, so that we can all be aware of, you know, what's going on with it. You know, if you're not on Twitter, you can just go to that wiki page as well. I agree with, I wanted to make a point about the internet power. And I agree with Alex, like some of us aren't really that skilled at. I don't really know how to just, you know, I know how to do a Twitter storm and tweet and all that. But, you know, the big Twitter storm we had on the anniversary of Collateral Murder release didn't really seem to trend, did it?
I'm not sure. We've had a few problems with things like that, haven't we?
Yeah.
We've
how
had
do we get
amazing
around that?
successes as well, because there was that time where we did the World Press Freedom one, and Unity4J actually got temporarily suspended, and that was because they were pushing some buttons then. And I think probably the key is actually jumping on other people's threads, not your sort of average activist threads, but pushing out there to, you know, get on those establishment lines. I know they've got ways of hiding replies as well, so this is why I'm feeling increasingly like it's futile and we're just preaching to the converted.
Yeah, I totally agree with the preaching to converted thing, because, you know, I know all of my followers are going to like or retweet my tweets, you know, not necessarily read them through. I think to a certain degree with the Writing to MPs campaign, which Truman's been leading here, and we've done hell of a lot of, you can only write to your MP and you only get a response if you're in their electorate in the UK. But I have written to Maurice Payne in Australia. She's not in my electorate, she's senator, so that's okay. She's, you know, Department of Foreign Affairs minister. And I have not even got a reply from her. So I think targeting in the same way that we might do a Twitter storm, targeting an MP in that sort of fashion, politely, as Mrs. C would say. But, you know, might have some value. I have had some experience with my local MP here, whose name's Sir Robert Neil, Neill. Now, he is he's on the parliamentary committee for justice. So he made a statement about the release of prisoners in the coronavirus period. And so that is exactly what page. Get that story that he wrote. I put it on my Twitter feed. But look at all of the heads of government in their portfolios, find someone who's relevant to the issue and find something they've written about it, and then get in there that way with our story and the relevance to it. And that's what I was trying to do with Robert O'Neill. And
am I right in thinking that Truman has been doing a schedule? Is that what I saw him kind of trying to encourage? Was that today we are doing this MP and
he did an A to Z list, and chose one for each day. And that's to sort of to flood them. I don't know how many people there's no way of really knowing how many people wrote to each one. I think it targeted, it's great that what he did, but I targeted one, Robert Buckland, who's the Lord Chancellor and the Secretary of State for Justice. He has, with this other guy called Lord Burnett of Malden.
Lord Mark, yeah.
Yeah. Two guys have the power to suspend this whole shebang, right?
Wow.
Debacle. they can say that the magistrate has been acting with bias, or not bias, actually, it's not, with bias, or her actions weren't fair. So they'll be the ones when that might get it to judicial review. So, and Robert Buckland has an electorate which is near Swindon, but he's also the Lord Chancellor and Secretary of State for Justice. And I think it's worthwhile really targeting the people who have, and what you said before, meeting, trying to organise a delegation to meet with these people, because they can flick you back an email and say, yeah, we don't care, or, we listen to your concerns, but this is our policy. But we are people. We are good people. We can have our own committee groups that can go and meet them, like the lobbyists that buy the government do. I think we should act in that way as well.
Yeah, and if we can't do it, in person, because I can understand that people will be discouraging groups of people going to their
It's the perfect time to do it.
It's actually a great time to connect with your own
Virtually.
people in your own neighbourhood and try and find a bunch of people that can go to your local MP as well. But then, that will connect you with a group of local people to do your local actions, which I think is really important as well.
This sounds farcical. You'll think I'm an idiot for saying this, but okay, we can't actually go out in the street at the moment, but the MPs of Great Britain have been given £10,000 to buy their own laptops so they can do all their work from home. The Australian Parliament shut down for 5 months, so they're doing all their work from home as well. So if they can have a little virtual parliament, we can have a little virtual meeting with them. So instead of actually having a delegation, we could do something like this with them, and we should lobby for that. But so for that, we do need sort of like a loose, like a leader committee kind of, arrangement, so that it looks like, what they want.
I think the other thing we could do is, rather than sending out, the Australian Assange campaign, I probably got it around the wrong way, but they had the auto emails that were fantastic, because it kind of indicated to you who the people were in your life that you should be focusing on because of where you are. And I've done it for being British. I've done it for being Australian because I grew up in Australia, and I've done it for being a New Zealander as well. So what I noticed was that the NHS ones, for instance, they just said, we're not dealing with any complaints at the moment, when the whole system is just shut down, so you're not going to get anywhere. And if you send us form letters, we disregard them. We just take the first one, or we take every 10 or something, we totally disregard them. We don't answer back. And so what I thought was a toolkit where you could have cut and paste this, cut and paste that, cut and paste this, easy peasy, here you go, you formed your letter of what you wanted to say, and just give people a toolkit that keeps mixing it up in a random way that makes every email different. Something like that.
That would be ideal to put on challengepower.info, the wiki page that we have, a tool to put on there. And if people could promote that and ask people to use that resource and add to it, it's easy. Just go on there and, jump in, because it's a wiki page. The targeted, the volume of, I think volume's a good thing with MPs, because there's another one. So they've got some random idea. They're not going to reply to them, but they've been volumized. So that's a good thing. But also the targeting to the key people who have the power to influence this. And I really think a virtual delegation, would be a good idea if we can try and organise one of those, because there is so much evidence about COVID around, and the words of Sir Bob O'Neill, who is the state parliament, who on the parliamentary committee for justice. He was the one that put out the email about prisoners being, the press release about prisoners being released, and he had said he had a duty of care and a responsibility to prisoners. So we take that point, we say, yes, we do. So we want to talk to you about it, and we want to meet with you in a virtual meeting, and then he can go and take it to his next parliamentary meeting of that group that he is the head of. The Parliament in the UK. And like you said, I did that in Australia as well, with my Australian addresses in here. And I think Ian's point about the environmental groups, the other groups that we can lock in, sort of leak into with our message, are great, because I came from this, which says Stop Adani. And I don't know if anyone knows Stop Adani. I thought it was like everyone knows Stop Adani, but not many people do over here. No, actually, no one I met did, I don't think, except a few Australians. But, you know, that's Julian's message, you know, like if you're an environmental group, if you're in a animal rights, welfare, you know, humanitarian group, then this is the fight that you should be in, because it's the, you know, he didn't say it's the apex, but I always say it's the apex issue. All of the freedoms, all of the rights, all of everything of the whole world. This is the apex issue, you know.
Yeah, I can see Ian Rose nodding profusely. Would you like to say something to that, Ian? I'll unmute you.
Thanks. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It is the apex issue. I love that terminology. I hadn't really thought of it myself like that. And something that did occur to me earlier was when we took over the hashtag press freedom. Remember the English had that thing? The hashtag was media freedom, and they changed it to press freedom because we'd flooded it so hard.
Yeah.
I think they're the kinds of things we want to look out for again, because that was a really brilliant movement.
Yeah, that really got onto some establishment threads, and that's why Unity4J got the instant ban, and they were off for the whole week. So they managed a couple of days of it, but we all took it on board and carried it anyway. So Unity4J definitely got that
I
going.
was the one that set that up.
Yeah,
remember?
Brilliant.
Got that going, and I actually got you to email everybody for me.
Yeah,
which was great, because that's what made that happen. That's why we got that reach, because of your e-list.
Well, it was just the Candles groups were all live and had just done their July, so it was an ideal time to ask me to ask them as well. But it was brilliant, and really surprising how it worked as well. And also, I had been talking on the Discord server and getting suggesting that people do the rogue speeches, and then I ended up going and doing that one at New Zealand Parliament as a result of really all that inspiration that you set off. Really.
Nice. Yeah, so I think that's the sort of thing we might want to be looking out for again. I think COVID-19, for example, is probably too muddy for us to make a noise in. But there's got to be some. We've got to really keep our eyes open on that. I've really got nothing else to say. I suppose I could have given you a bit of background on the movement that I've been part of. I'm based in Sydney, in the city here, and our community group, Support Assange and WikiLeaks Coalition, has been going since 2011. And we've been on quite a wave of different campaigns through that time. I was reminded of the Ban the Blockade one. I think actually it was from 2013, when PayPal and MasterCard and all those people blocked donations to WikiLeaks, and that was quite a arduous time. But we've really gone through a lot of phases here in Australia as to interest in Assange and how it's sort of gone up and down and up and down. And for example, when he was first arrested last year, we had a snap action down at the UK embassy, and we got a whole new bunch of people on board with that. And we marched in the streets without our Schedule 1 approval, and we had a really good stringer from RT for that, and he actually videoed what a small bunch of people were doing to make it look like a really large bunch of people doing something, which was good. But it is our behind the scenes work that's going to matter. And for all of this time, it has been very much our behind the scenes work that has made those differences. And I think the idea of us writing unique emails to all of those key MPs, and I would like to be in touch with you, Alison, if that's possible, to get some of those names of those people in the UK you were talking about. I'll write to Alex, and Alex can put us in touch if that's okay.
Yeah, actually, any links and things that are going on in the chat, I can't really access chat without showing it to everyone, which is a bit dangerous given what was going on before. So I can't really respond to chat. But Joe, if you could make sure that sort of the details that people wanted to share with this live on stream could be posted out somewhere, and then I can retweet it when we stop this or later. When other people
totally, yeah. I've been collecting up links and using my powers as restream magic to share them out. So all the YouTubers and the Facebookers and the Periscopers and what else, D-Livers and all the other people in theory are getting the links to wikis and bits and pieces. So do post them in the chat, and I'll spread the
I'd
word.
like to say something real quick.
Please.
Just before you do,
Oh.
I'd just like to make my apologies for having to go early. I'm in a very freezing environment here, and I have to go and get warm and eat and all that sort of thing. So I'm really sorry to leave early, but thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you. Lovely to meet you all too.
Thank you so much for coming and joining us. It's great to have you. You've got so much experience, way more than certainly the New Zealand crew. So.
Oh no, don't say that. All the best.
Thank you, Ian. Bye-bye. So,
Bye-bye.
Alison, I really want to thank you for all the amazing, the work that you've been doing, whether it was on the behalf of Candles for Assange or not. It's been great to see all the action going on. What I was going to ask you as well, one of my burning questions was, is Truman still planning the car thing on the 2nd of May? Was that still going to go ahead? Do you know?
Yes. As of today, yeah, that's as far as I know.
Right.
It'll depend on what you can do, because they do. You're not supposed to drive either.
No.
If it's not an essential thing. So we might change tomorrow. What's today? Saturday. Monday is the day that there was the proviso. Maybe we'd get out of lockdown, but the motions they've been making. They have been making is that no, you'll have to stay in for a little while longer. So, as everyone says, this whole trial should have been aborted at that prelim hearing last week, but they're still, pretending that everything might be right by May 18.
I hear that they were taking it to appeal, and it's actually going to go to a different judge. Am I right in that? Does anyone know any facts about that? But also, I want to also jump back to Commander X, but after saying thank you so much, Alison, and I'm going to stay on the stream because I'm sure we're going to still have a discussion, but I want to jump back to Commander X again.
I'm listening.
Okay, sorry, Commander X, you carry on.
I do hope Alison stays listening. It really broke my heart to hear her voice. And I really, one of the things I picked up immediately was a sense of resigned despondency. And I really want to address that. I know, Alison, I want to reach out to you personally and tell you don't maybe even know much about me, but I encourage you to find out something about me. And in doing so, you'll find out some really crazy crap, no doubt about it. But then also what I would like to give you is a sense of hope. People, please understand, you don't understand the power that you have and how fate has actually bestowed upon so many of you the actual time now to go out and people say, oh, I'm not, I hear so much, I'm not technical, I'm not, you know what, you know how to tweet, so don't cry to me. You know how to turn your computer on and you know how to send out a tweet. And the rest, we all learned. We all learned it, man. Do you think that I started in 2010, this all-knowing anon hacktivist who like could reach out and just touch dictators and they fall like candles, No, we spent, decades really, but cyberpunks, but then years really learning how to do this. But the power that you have with the internet, it was Twitter that ran dictators out of office in the Arab Spring. Twitter, man. And these politicians, they are so vain now. They are so sent. Trump has politicized and weaponized Twitter to the point where now every politician in the world has to do the same. They are so sensitive. You can reach out and really, totally, with just 100 people, you can touch these people through Twitter, through Facebook, through social media, through all of it. And so I guess what I want to leave you with is a sense of hope that yes, you got to pivot. You just gotta do it. We all got to do it so we can live. But we can really be effective. We can be so effective. We can be effective in a way that might actually be a realization to you. That you'll be like, holy crap, man, look at the power I have. because that's the story of Anonymous. If you go watch We Are Legion, the incredible famous documentary that they did about us and what we did, all of it is the idea of hope, the idea that you are empowered by this little device in front of you, this computer and an internet connection is all you need to change the world. It's all you need. You can change the course of human history with your laptop. And so just believe and know that even though you can left with this as a last resort, you can left with what I personally have spent my whole career telling people is the most powerful weapon. In Dark Ops, my second book, I make the point of saying that we stopped an army. And now that's a whole other story, and I won't bother to tell the story, but we used information activism to stop an army from attacking people. We trumped kinetic force for the first time in human history. Anonymous did that. And we did it through just the same tools you've got available to you right now. Twitter, email, the internet. That's it. That's all.
And you don't think that the algorithm has crippled that to some extent because it's just getting so toxic? I mean,
no,
really
because I see my bros. If you go to my Twitter account and look at some of the activists I follow, follow them, you'll find that most of us spend our whole life figuring out how to undo those friggin' algorithms. So we're still effective. Anonymous is still out there doing his thing. You go follow a bunch of Anon accounts and you'll see them advocating and using these techniques to good effect on a half a dozen different causes on any given day. And apply not necessarily the techniques and the strategies, but the hope, just to understand people that you have such a powerful tool. So don't be despondent, be productive. You know what I mean? Make every moment online count. Get online, get into IRC channels, get into, and the other thing I think that I'll just leave you with, because I'm probably going to lose batteries. I notice every time that I come on, especially lately, at the beginning, back when Ian was describing those first vigils that we did for Julian's connectivity, we were all a little closer maybe, and there wasn't, but I noticed the difference when I come on live. I'm a hacker. I get it. Okay. I'm the big, scary black hat. Okay. But here's the deal, though, guys. Just be open to everything, because it's the black hat hacktivists who have mastered also the other stuff, like the social media. You talk about how to beat the algorithms. It's the black hat hacktivists that are out there that can also help you with that stuff.
Yeah, well, we will definitely be coming to you for help.
Let's all not worry so much about what color hat we wear or what we're all doing, because trust me, the cyberpunks are on the front line of it. The hackers are on the front line of this. Because whether you all like it or not, Julian's one of ours. That's a fact. Julian's one of ours, man. Okay, so we're bringing it home one way or another. But so don't worry so much about being so scared of hackers anymore, because the ones that are on your side are really useful.
I don't think anyone's scared of hackers at all. I think we're just scared of being the people to, like we love it when Anon come and do their stuff. We love it. But, don't get me wrong. I mean, I guess one of the things Unity4J taught me was being careful on the funding and careful on what you promote, no matter how happy you are about it.
And that's all we ask. Just don't hate us for it. Don't diss us for it. And also, retweeting something doesn't break any laws. So just be prepared for all of that, because Anonymous is going to do what it feels it has to do. Like I said, it's kept its peace until now. We're going to see how this plays out. If you want to know, and I'll leave you with this, folks, I like to stay positive. So two things. One, just to rehash again, to Allison, to all of you, understand the power you have. And it is incredible. A keyboard multiplies an activist by 1,000. It turns you into 1,000 compared to 15 or 20 years ago. So you have incredible power. And second of all, I would like to leave you on an upbeat note as far as my legal prognosis. I still feel, and I don't feel this means we should let up, And it's tough to give these prognoses because either way I say it, if I say he's doomed, then I make everybody panic. I really think that we're going to win. And I think we can all come together right now and be a part of history. I think that's why, more than any reason, we should do this, because when our children and our grandchildren ask us, where were you? You know what I mean? They ask me now, my little nephews, and nieces, where were you when Mandela was in prison? I was in the fucking street fighting apartheid and getting arrested by the FBI at the age of 18. So, so you want it. This is the moment that you put your name in the history of WikiLeaks and in the history of this resistance. So, I just keep hope. I think we're going to do this. I think we're going to beat it. But I think that we need to pivot, and we need to accept that, and we need to embrace the power.
Well,
of the internet,
if we can help you in any way, if we can help it in any way.
What more majestic way to win, guys? Okay, listen. What more majestic way to win? Think about this. This is glorious, okay, guys? Because when we win this, having had to pivot from the streets to a completely online campaign, I mean, isn't that what this is all about? Isn't Julian and WikiLeaks a creature of this incredible new virtual existence called the internet, this world that we live in, right? Pure information. I mean, I think in a way, it's sort of beautiful. What a beautiful way for us to beat this, that we had to turn to the power of the very thing that we're defending. In order to actually have to pick up the virtual sword in order to defend Julian and WikiLeaks. So I think it's a great thing. I'm willing to come back, share more of my expertise anytime. You all know how to reach me.
Yeah, well, like I said, if there's anything we can do to help share stuff that you're doing, please just let us know. And if there's any kind of campaigns that we can come on board, I don't know how we help Anon, but we would definitely. I mean, how does someone come and help?
You really don't. You really don't. I mean, for those, you remember that you've got a lot of listeners who aren't you. So, but if you are out there and you're interested, you just become anonymous. There's no club, there's no ID card, and then start reaching out on Twitter to various accounts. You'll find your way. There's nobody that indoctrinates somebody into anonymous. Hacktivism is not for everybody. It's an acquired taste. I'm not here to try to recruit. But what I am here to do is to lessen friction between all factions, including conservatives, libertarians, liberals, white hats, black hats. I think that everybody's going to come together in their own way with this. Let's not worry about, I'm a street anarchist. A lot of my code comes from the street. I don't worry about what my brother's doing as long as my brother's standing in line. That's it. And
I've got a burning question for you. You mentioned before Amy Goodman. You mentioned before Democracy Now. Now, Amy Goodman is someone I immensely respect, particularly when we're talking about Iraq war and combating, disinformation in the mainstream media. But I've looked with interest in how she has pushed Russiagate and some of the worst lies that I've seen, and it's come from Democracy Now. And I just wondered, how do you feel about something like that?
Well, people are wrong sometimes. We're all fucking human. And if you look at my career, which is extensive and very public as well, there's, dozens of times that I was just flat out fucking wrong. Okay? Right. And that happened. I think that what we see and what me and Susie and Elizabeth especially, I think, clicked on right away and saw in this is one of those unique causes where that shit just doesn't matter. It just doesn't anymore. I think that those differences all sort of melt away when we face such an existential threat to the freedom of information that we face with Julian's case. And in that sense, Julian is not a human. He's a symbol. And symbols are very important too. Sometimes symbols can even be more important than the human who stands behind them. to be honest.
It just worried me
So,
what some of the stuff that was coming out of her was beyond the normal sort of cluelessness. It seemed malicious to me. I mean, I'm not on the level of Rachel Maddow.
I don't know. You know, you can be. I know that you can be wrong. I don't follow Amy's current career very, very closely, or the material that you're talking about. The last I dealt with her was during the art stuff when I appeared on Democracy Now! and whatnot. It was quite a show, and me and Amy had quite an emotional discussion before the show. Amy's a friend, but like I said, my friends can be wrong, and people I know can be wrong, and I can be wrong. This is the problem with name tags. This is the problem with worshiping heroes. Is that sometimes
can I just say thank you so much for spending, staying up really super late and coming and talking to us.
Many blessings to everybody. Blessings to Nat for helping to get me here.
Yeah.
Allison, keep your chin up. You're on the front line there in London. You're in an incredible historic place from Anonymous' point of view. Actually, Trafalgar Square is quite almost a shrine, a religious shrine for us. So
yeah,
stay strong, and you'll find a way to be powerful if you just believe in the power of this information and your laptop and learn and use your lockdown time otherwise, so you'll be surprised. And everybody else there, just out there, get busy, and we'll get this done. We'll be successful.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Commander X. Okay, so I was about to just talk to Fiona, and I really, really want to talk to Fiona because, and I couldn't get hold of Sally. I did try, but it didn't sound like any sound was coming from there when I unmuted her. So Fiona. Fiona's been running events since almost I got involved in Wellington from day one, because she was one of the people that was responding to my mails even when I had no platform at all. So Fiona immediately got on board, and I just want to thank you so much because what you've done in Auckland is far surpasses what I've managed on the ground in Wellington. I know I'm doing a lot of things in the background, but I haven't done a great job on the Wellington protests, and not like I would like to, and I'm really proud of what you've achieved in Auckland. And I'm hoping Charlene has got the invitation too. Is she
I think she's listening in. Yes.
Great. Okay, I'll make sure that maybe Joe, if you can make sure that Charlene is up on the video, maybe she could share her video with us as well. And also please chat and let Joe know if anyone else wants to come and talk, and if you're having to go, or if we can help you with a tech problem or anything like that. So Fiona, over to you.
Okay, well, I got on board actively in 2018. I had written a few blogs about the three special truth guys. That's Julian Assange, Manning, and I'm having mental blanks here. You know the one I mean. Snowden. Yeah, all three. I had been writing blogs about that previously, and then somehow I got onto a Facebook page and made contact with Davey Hellier in Australia, and he helped to put up the New Zealand page on Facebook, and asked me if I would start doing something. And I was a bit nervous, but I actually found Charlene. She offered to come along with me. So for nearly a whole year, from 2018 to 2019, it was just two of us, or sometimes three, my husband or one of her sons, but basically just the two of us, and nobody else. But we went all over the place. We hung signs over the motorway and got toots and waves. We went outside the Herald newspaper, outside TV3, outside the US Embassy, UK Embassy, made a noise, stuck up posters, took videos, and I made a lot of flyers with information, because every second person we met hadn't even heard of Julian Assange at that stage because of the silence of the media.
And would you say that's different now, after a year and a half, 2 years?
Yeah. I've sensed the tide is turning, that we're not getting so many responses. We used to have a lot of people yelling at us, he's just a rapist, rushing off, but they'd never stopped to hear why he wasn't. But, you know, they just were ignorant people, you know, brainwashed by the media. But this last year, 2019, we've had a lot more people coming on board. I had a meeting in a cafe mid last year, and we had about 12 people that came, and I got all the email addresses, and we've had a lot more turning up, especially at the UK Embassy. And last time we had 19. So that's a record for here. I know it's miserable compared to the rest of the world, but I don't know what's wrong with Kiwis, but they need a rocket launched somewhere to get them going.
I think our maximum is about 20, 25 maybe, and that was the very first one, June 19 in 2018. Yeah. That was is it 7 year in the embassy? I think that was what was gone. And right. Davey, I was trying to get on board with Davey's global protest, because whilst being in Unity 4J, my frustration was that we were only doing the online thing and we weren't doing the on-ground stuff. So I wanted to really help Davey with his stuff, right. and helped him with graphics and things. And so, yeah, he was one of the things. But one of the things, the most powerful things that I think I saw you do, I mean, apart from Charlene on her own with the sign, was a really powerful one that went quite viral. But was the media, call out the media campaign that we had, that was really small, but it was fantastic for you in Auckland, because NTV NZ, I think, came out of their office and had to deal with you outside.
Yeah, 2 security guards, and they told us to move on. But yeah, the last demo we had outside the UK Embassy, 3 times the building manager has come out and got very irate and told us to move on. And the 3rd time he didn't come out, he called the security company, and 2 guys arrived in the car, and they went inside and then came out and told us we had to move at least a metre away from the building and take all the posters off, etc. And we'd actually, with Sally, who got a busker across the road. She paid him some money to come over and play lovely songs for us right outside the UK Embassy. And then every 2nd or 3rd song, he let us use his microphone to speak our little bit about Julian Assange right in front of the embassy.
Oh, I'm so sad that Sally can't do her sound. Maybe, Joe, can you chat with Sally and see if you can fix Midnight Poetry Band's sound? Okay, we're just going live, Fiona. Hold on. Keep my swagger, I stagger in the night, running over your car when you stop with the light. I think kicking out the side mirror, juice wine drinker, coma with the winds and cold, but never shiver. Don't give a fuck about dignity in the club. I mute him because he doesn't realise that he's on, so sorry about that, everybody. Let me go back to you.
Okay, so what I've been doing, I'm not that computer savvy, and I don't think I'll ever be a hacker, but you never know. I like to make memes, and this is one I've sent to the royal family. I've sent it to Judge Arbuthnot. And I just keep tweeting Trump. Trump tweeted him today, just, you know, every time he puts a comment up like Happy Easter, you know, I'd just say, well, it's not a very happy Easter for the guy that's sitting in Belmarsh jail, and this is why, you know. And I just put, you know, pre-planned extradition executed by your administration, blah, blah, blah. Just go for the jugular.
Yeah, I thought your idea about focusing on the royal family, when we realised that Prince Andrew had been so disgraced and that there was such hatred at the time for establishment, I really loved your idea of kind of trying to attach onto that anger. You know, I mean, it's probably a negative type of campaign, but at the same time, the whole, what did you call it? You had a name for it.
We're changing the guard at Buckingham Palace.
That's it.
I thought it would be great to get protesters at the gates with those signs up.
Yeah, I think that was a fantastic idea. I think this is the secret. I think times like Ian's and Unity 4J's, the World Press Freedom spamming was fantastic, and that's purely because we got to them in the, you know. In fact, I think the Twitter change happened shortly after that, where suddenly Twitter users can hide replies, and they can decide that they don't want their reply to appear, and all sorts of things that can now happen.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But yeah, those campaigns, I think, where you kind of get out of your silo and you just go and launch into something else. They don't last for very long because you get shut down and censored pretty quick, but I think they're really, really effective way. And with that World Press Freedom thing, getting people to go and do rogue speeches, and I did my own at that breakfast in the breakfast at the New Zealand Parliament, and we can share that later once everyone's had a chat, and if anyone's interested at the end of the live stream. But the idea of getting into their little world and giving them a truth bomb really publicly. Okay, so you're sharing the screen, are you, Fiona?
No, it's not me.
Who's sharing the screen?
Hi. It's me, Deb. Hi.
Oh, hi, Deb. I didn't see you there. You're just sharing your screen. Are you not doing video?
Read the truth. Yeah, it just came in 2 hours ago.
Oh, okay. So, do you want to? Sorry, I'll just jump. I've just been talking to Fiona. Did you want me to jump to you and say what you've been doing? Because you've been making some wonderful graphics and doing some wonderful tweets on Facebook as well.
Well, I'll let Deb do her thing now. I'm just going to go and say goodbye to my guests that are in the lounge, and I'll be back.
All right, fantastic.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Thanks, be back.
So I'm going to go back over to Debs now, who was about to share the screen.
So Senator Surfer is the Twitter handle for Senator Wish Wilson is a senator in the Australian Parliament. So he has been plugging away trying to get Assange home, and I just saw this Twitter post that he made from 2 hours ago, where he's asking Parliament again to get him out of prison and bring him home.
So we could all jump onto that. If you share in the chat, you can share the link to that, and we can all jump onto that and promote it. You can go to participants, and then from there you can select, like you could just send it to me if you wanted to, or whatever.
Oh, okay. Right. I'll try and get there. Okay.
We've got a wonderful visual going on at Midnight Poetry Cafe. I'm kind of really tempted to do that. And I'm wondering, Paddock, you came on live temporarily, and then I wondered if you wanted to be on as well. Like, you feel free. There's my Midnight Poetry Band. Hey.
There's that going now. I'm not sure if you can hear me, Alex, so I tried to set it up so we should be able to hear each other. Can you hear me at all?
I can just hear someone talking. It was very quiet.
But I turned my up quite a bit. Probably going to need to be a fair bit louder though. How about that? Is that okay?
Yeah, a fair bit louder compared to the rest of the levels, and I've got nothing from Midnight Poetry Band.
Channel D, channel way up, push the gain up. This is Paddock Radio. We're live to air. I think we should be quite a bit louder now because we get quite a lot of gain going through our system. Is that sounding better there, Alex?
Yes, and I've also got a message here from Nat who'd like to speak because she's been waiting up a long time, and I went to her earlier, but only briefly. So, but are you doing something right now, Paddock? Is there something you want to?
Just quickly, I thought I'd drop in and say I was listening to what Commander X was saying before about how getting the message out is the most important part, and I strongly agree with that.
Yeah.
How if you're doing as much media as you can get out, it doesn't really matter if. Because we were wondering, we had the same thing with the Ihi Mātau protest as well, where they were worrying, does it matter if we've got these sorts of, we've got support from all over the place, but a lot of Destiny Church turned up and that sort of thing. I'm not sure, but
maybe we should tell people, because we've got people from outside of New Zealand, maybe we should explain to them what Ihi Mātau is and what it's about. And I know Sally can't speak right now, so maybe you can give an overview.
That's why I wanted to drop into the voice and say that Midnight Poetry was saying that they fixed their microphone, I think. So Midnight Poetry, you guys there?
They're unmuted, but still not hearing anything from them. They've got the thumbs up, but we're not hearing anything, I'm afraid, Paddock.
Oh, wow, that's a shame. Oh. Yeah, well, they'd be the best to talk to about that, because Ihi Mātau was a protest that we had for getting some land back off the government that was historically owned by a local tribe. Now, they had a large protest out in South Auckland about it. They ended up occupying a large amount of area. But one of the main things that they did was they put a big call out on all of their Facebook pages, and they put a big call across it went quite viral, and lots of people were saying, "Oh yeah, it's really good." They had people coming in from all over the country. Suddenly, they had thousands of people on site. But then they started realizing that they were getting support from groups that they wouldn't traditionally associate with, like they had one from Destiny Church, which is a mega church out here in South Auckland, who brought buses out with thousands of their supporters. And they said, well, it's great that they've got support, but these guys also have some pretty nasty policies as well. They do tithing and things, which a lot of people didn't really agree with. Another main thing that they did was they ended up having gang members showing up as well. So I think the local Black Power was there, and the local mongrel mob was there, and they were all there shoulder to shoulder, and sort of people weren't sure how it was going to go, but it was quite respectful towards the end of the day. And I said, when I was looking at it, I was saying, this is really interesting how what would you do if, Westboro Baptist Church suddenly started saying they want to support the cause? Are you going to let them do it because you want your cause to be supported, or do you want to, are you going to pick and choose and realistically make your playing field smaller?
That was one of the things certainly that came up quite a bit with Unity for J. We essentially put the hard line down that you needed to leave your political, your whatever it was at the door, and we were there solely for the purpose of Julian Assange. And we got a lot of criticism for allowing right-wing people into Unity for J and the similarly socialists and everyone said, well, why are you letting those people in? Well, we're letting them in because they've agreed, like everyone else, to leave their chip on their shoulder at the door and focus just on uniting for Julian. And I think that's where, if you can unite over a common cause and leave a lot of that baggage out the door, then certainly things work a bit better. Unity, unity in our diversity. We've got so many different ways of looking at things and so much diversity. But if we can find that little bit of unity, and Julian is a fantastic cause to unify behind, because as people have said, he brings together so many of those key issues, those hot topics, and those things that our entire lives and liberties depend on.
Well, I think one of the interesting things about that story, about Unity4J being tarnished as supporting and platforming right-wing people, is that Cassandra Fairbanks, who was one of the people, I think the two that they had a problem with, or maybe three, Ian Stranahan because he'd worked for Breitbart, and Cassandra Rules because she'd supported Trump, but she came from being a Bernie supporter originally, and that's actually why she got such a huge platform and got onto the Trump campaign and all that sort of stuff. And then Cassandra Fairbanks Rules actually suddenly worked out what was going on a lot earlier than anyone else, and one of the things we found out was that she had an inside link, and she was one of the people that warned Julian in the embassy that he was about to get arrested out of there, and she and he had a conversation in person, passing notes, whispering with radio noise in the background, and basically everything they shared was shared with the CIA instantly, and we can prove it because within seconds she got a phone call as soon as she left the embassy saying, what have you done? And she tweeted out just something from ABC, and she made some connections and managed to push the story out, and so they were horrified. But what she has recently released, and I've put it on my channel as a video as well, was that this is entirely proving that the CIA was spying on Julian, and that Trump made that order himself and with Ecuador through Grinnell. And all of that is public information. It was even published on ABC, but she had connected the dots, and they were horrified, and they threatened her, and they threatened her children. And so she went public with it, and it was a relief, really, because all those days that she was smeared, and yet look at her, she's been one of the hardcore supporters. I don't know if people saw her outside the embassy in Ecuador, embassy in London, but she was actually interviewing the surveillance team in their cars, knocking on their windows, even when they were pretending not to be related to it, and they were standing on the pavement having a fag. She managed to get some live stream of those very people that pulled Julian out of the embassy. And that's one of the things that's crucified the Q story a little bit. It's kind of shown that Q has kind of been disinforming people about, Trump will get a pardon for Julian and it's all going to be fine, just sit back and trust the plan. And that's one of the things that Cassandra Fairbanks's recent revelations, basically whistleblowing, has shown. Don't you think, Joe?
Yeah, totally. So yeah, I think a lot of what she was saying was justified in the end. And yeah, I mean, I think between us is, I see in this Zoom here, there's people who are political, the other end of the spectrum from me, and certainly, I found points of commonality, and we might all have our
points of
hot issues, but
yeah, basically we're all arguing on polarizing issues. But right now, Joe, if I can, unless someone else is really, really urgent, can I go over to Nat, because Nat's been waiting patiently and I tried to get her to talk before, but there you are, Nat. Why don't you chat? You're already unmuted.
Thank you. Well, I wanted to thank you before for letting me put Mexico in the map of this cause. It has taken me many, many years. I've been doing this for many, many years, and I always felt like it was just me. There's not a lot of people here who know who Assange is. The fact that the Mexican president talked about him a couple of months ago helped a lot, but still we are lacking a lot of support from Mexicans. So it has been really, really important for me to have you putting Mexico in the map.
Oh, well, it's a pleasure.
Sorry, I'm very shy.
It's a pleasure, and it's the least I can do. I haven't not done a whole lot of this stuff other than just listing other people's events, and I'm fully relying on all these people on coming through, and you've been amazing. Mexico has really punched above its weight. I feel like New Zealand has punched above its weight as well here. Maybe not in the government or the media here, but certainly in the activist community and in some indie journalists, people like Ed. Now, sorry, Nat, can I just do a sound check for the Midnight Poetry Band? Otherwise, they're going to have to. Midnight Poetry Band, yes. You're unmuted already. Are you now live? So they're not coming up because they're not screening. I got asked to do it again, but I don't think it's working. So I'll go back to Nat. Nat, you carry on. Sorry.
No, just maybe do you have questions or something I can start talking about?
Yeah. Well, so I was wondering what the lockdown is like there. What the sort of mode of that is, and how you feel protests may be affected in the past, because you've had a little bit of success there, and I've seen things in the media, and I've seen that your president supports Julian, has specifically made a statement. That's right, isn't it?
Yes, so he made a statement. So it was very important because many people who don't know who Assange is started finding out about this. So it was very important. But on the other side, sorry, I'm not very fan of the president. He only mentioned him once, and he didn't mention Chelsea, or he hasn't been following this situation. I know Assange's mom thanked him in Twitter and everything, and it was it put us Mexicans in the map for a few days. But I would love him to keep mentioning him and talking about the importance of the case. But I think it was just it was a glimpse of hope.
Yeah.
That I feel just disappeared.
And how's the lockdown and the situation with protesting? Do you feel like you can go out on a solo protest and not have problems, or is it just frowned upon and you end up causing grief?
Well, we've been having the national emergency health situation for, I think it's almost 2 weeks, but it's we can go out, and I mean it's like Fiona was saying, it's just 2 or 3 of us, so we can still be able to go outside. and protest in the streets.
Great. Okay, well, that's good to hear. And I mean, I was delighted to see that the president did support, but I understand, you know, it's a pretty similar situation I have with Jacinda, because in New Zealand, we've done very well. We've got one death, and there's even questions of if it was even really 100% a corona thing, or just not just being infected with corona. So we're doing really well.
We're up to 4 deaths now.
Because of Jacinda. What we're up
there
to?
was
What?
2 more today.
There was 2 more today.
There was 2 more deaths
so that's
today.
old news. That's bad news.
All over 70s.
Right. Okay. So you could commend, and a lot of people be going, oh God, I wish Jacinda was our, MP, our president. Wouldn't that be great? And I saw a lot of Americans and Australians doing this, and it was frustrating because of you know that on the one hand she signed the TPP, there's disinformation, there's censorship. She really went and did a deal with Macron and organised world censorship after the Christchurch. There's supporting war. There's been a little bit in the environment and plastic that's been improving here, and in general I think she's a compassionate leader. In some ways she donated money to the Clinton Foundation and has pictures hugging Hillary, which seems incredible if you were knowledgeable. I guess this was after she'd lost the election as well, and so we might have complaints with the National Party having donated 14 million of our tax to a criminal cabal, but we also have the problem of our new other party government doing exactly the same thing, even though Hillary had lost. So it's amazing contradiction. It's sort of cognitive dissonance in a way, isn't it?
Both parties are the establishment. That's why the internet party is the only solution.
Well, maybe we won't call it the internet party, maybe because that will alienate people.
The people. You got to bring the people into it.
Okay, so I've had another request from Midnight Poetry Band. I'm going to come back. Are you going to go? Oh, okay. I will say goodbye to you then first, Nat. Please do say your goodbyes.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
You're absolutely welcome, and thank you for everything you've done. We are so proud of you in Mexico, and I do think that one of the things that did attract people was the fact that I was making those Candles for Assange maps, and I was putting icons in my Paint application on Word, because I couldn't be bothered to come up here to this office where I could get Photoshop, and so I'd just be doing these crappy little, very crude graphics. But the thing is, everybody wanted their flag to appear on it. And I noticed people who weren't even intending to do a protest, they were trying to get me to put a flag on it, and they were happy that they were going to see some support there, even if it was just sort of virtual and they weren't even going to turn up with a candle. But I think that was one of the keys.
What you've done is amazing.
And I think now that we're virtual, I think probably the key is, like Truman has been suggesting, but only manually, is a schedule, an organized way of focusing people locally into groups to do these group Zoom chats with MPs, or group, attacks of one person on one day, in order to really hit it home that we can do this anytime. And if we want to do it for 4 weeks, we've got enough people to fill every hour for 4 weeks. If there's a schedule where people can go, oh yeah, Mexico is calling between 1 and 3, and Canberra is calling between 2 and 4, and whatever it is. Do you need to say anything else before you go? You're just going to
No.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I have to go.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm very nice to meet you all.
All right. Ciao. Midnight Poetry Band, you are still unmuted, so can you make some noise? Oh, and I'm going to come to you, Elizabeth. I see you up there. Hello. Yes, I've still got noise. And do I need to look at the chat to do something? They're waving again. Do we need Paddock?
This is Paddock Radio. You're live to air on all of our channels, and we're actually just on a Zoom call at the moment. We just heard from Nat from Mexico, and where are you guys from? Drop your locations in the chat. Look, I was just wanted to say, when you were talking about having multiple Zoom chats and multiple people connected around the world, look, I'd love to be involved with that, and I'd like to open the offer to the floor. And anybody you run into, if they want to record a 2-hour show, just if you do a Zoom chat, just record it, record the audio, and send it to me. That's music@paddockradio.net or paddockradiolive@gmail.com, or put it in the chat. But what I want to do is invite people to do whatever you do, any of your audio, anything like that, please try and make sure there's no music in it that you're not allowed to use. But otherwise, we're a pirate station, so we'll just run it anyway. But it just means you get cut off faster. That's all. But yeah, we just wanted to open it up to you guys. I can still hear you guys as well, so I think I might have changed my audio settings now that I can actually talk to people. Alex, can you hear me? I think you're still muted, actually.
I'm muted, but I was just wondering, can you hear Midnight Poetry Band, or is there any way to get their sound working? Because I would love to hear from them. But if I can't hear from them next and no one else wants to say anything, I'd love to talk to Elizabeth Mueller, because she's got some amazing experience on activism, but also TPPA, but also from being targeted as an activist, which I'm very interested to hear about as well in terms of relation. Have you got noise?
Hello, can you hear us?
Hello, Midnight Poetry Band. Welcome.
Oh, they can hear us.
Oh my gosh, I can hear you.
Okay, we've just plugged in with headphones, so we've finally got communication channels flowing. Can you hear just me, or can you hear Sally as well?
Hi,
Yeah,
love you.
Oh, good, good. All right. Yeah, we're more here for moral support and visual, support.
But we were going to do a little show for the open mic.
Oh, good, good. Yeah, we do have some music to play, and
like maybe at the end or whenever we've finished.
More at the end to wrap up, rather than we don't want to interfere with the intellectual flow.
Without tomfoolery.
It's all good to have some entertainment in the background.
What are they even saying, Joby?
That's great to be able to hear you now. So what I could do is, while Midnight Poetry Band is sorting themselves out, I might just want to go over and talk to Elizabeth, because I see her waiting there for some time, and I'm going to unmute you now. You're okay? But I've just unmuted you, Elizabeth.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. I'm live in my shower.
You are?
It's my shower curtain, and it's like almost 5 in the morning, so I hope I sound coherent. Yeah, I don't even know what to talk about. I was throwing up some ideas in the live stream chat, and so I thought I'd just reiterate them. Some of you have heard me talk about these things like numerous times, so I don't want to be repetitive. But so for those of you who don't know me, I led a group of about 15,000 to stop TPP in USA, and turned out I was one of the largest, if not the largest, independent group in the USA, which I sort of found out the hard way after I was being targeted. So I don't even know where to begin, but the 3 things that I wanted to share that were really effective when I was organizing against the TPP, and they weren't all my ideas, there were other groups that worked on these things, but one is, well, I'm not tech savvy. I need someone who's tech savvy to possibly develop a tool. And the tool is to send letters to the editor. And what it is you just put in your zip code or whatever it is over in the UK, and it will go to all the local newspapers, especially the medium-sized newspapers, because we know the large ones are probably not going to print any kind of letter to the editor for Julian Assange, but maybe they will. So if anyone out there is really good at creating, I don't know what to call it, like a tech tool, we had a group that did that, and you know, it involves like pollinating databases, which is way over my head. But anyway, if you can do that, that would be great. The other thing is I'm very interested in this, and I would love a lesson on how to do live projections on the sides of buildings, because wouldn't that be cool to just drive around in your car and like have this moving billboard and redirect them to our live streams and redirect them to our web pages, to our other actions, and get them to also wake up their neighbors and have like music and bullhorns and be like, everyone, coronavirus, wake up, like, you know, free Julian Assange, and just go to like apartment buildings and start doing like a huge information campaign on the sides of buildings. I thought that would be really cool, because you guys are already doing that in London anyway. Let's just take it to the next level. And that's one idea. And then the other thing was, what was my other idea? Well, I already have something on Facebook. Of course, Facebook since then has been like gutted since the Stop TPP call team was like alive and well. But I do have a free Julian Assange call team on Facebook. I think it's on Twitter. I just created a page, and already I noticed that Twitter has taken some of the things down. I think it took down maybe even all of the numbers in the US. Actually, I had the numbers in the US, the UK, and Australia for how to call your reps on both of these pages. So on Facebook, if you look up Free Julian Assange Call Team, that's been going for quite some time. It's just that Facebook is so dead, it hasn't grown like my Stop.TPP call team did. I only have like 100 people, whereas my Stop.TPP call team grew to be about 15,000 people. So that should show you how much they've limited the algorithms.
Yeah, I totally sympathize with that. I mean, with the email format thing, Australian Assange campaign have got this automatic email system, and I know some people maybe that could connect with you there, and we've also got Joe Booth, he's technical here. What I was doing previously was, well, he's running the live stream at the moment as well, but what I was trying to do on a website at one point was I had all these theoretical protest locations, and I had a database populating maps, and each time you clicked on an icon in your local area, I could have added an organizer to that icon or a date or whatever and put it out there. But unfortunately Google stopped supporting this on Fusion Tables, and I haven't been able to do it in such a way. The problem is that if you are a person that's not making profit and you have 20,000 people visiting a map and you're starting to pay on a basis of users, you can't do that anymore. So I too had to take down all my maps that were this wealth of information. In there was senators' numbers, in there was social media contacts, Twitter accounts, everything of all of them as a database, and Fusion Tables just went offline and I couldn't do it anymore. So that was really, really frustrating, that one. And what I was saying before, I don't know if you missed it, but that there's been some feedback that the same letter each time doesn't necessarily work. It's good because of bulk, but what might be better is a kit of parts situation where you can copy and paste a few different good phrases in any order you like, or something like that.
Yeah, I missed that part, but actually, just so you know, we had sort of like a pre-written one for people that just didn't want to bother, and then you could edit. So you're right, that is very important, just not to have a canned letter. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's some other question that I had for you guys.
The projection one, regarding the projection. Now I've forgotten the name and I've been trying to search it, but there is an organisation on Twitter, Pixel Art, or Pixel is something subversive and protesty, but they are fully able to, if you can do the fundraising to get the high-powered projector, because obviously it needs a really, really high-powered one. Everyone can do it with a small home projector, but to get those ones that Melbourne and maybe London did, Don't Extradite Assange campaign would be good people to see who got them to do it. But I have a feeling Pixel Art or Pixel something on Facebook, if you search Assange and Pixel, the word, you might find it. But I have seen them before, and they do that at massive scale.
Okay, I didn't know how expensive it was. I was trying to read articles, and some of them said you could do it on a really tight budget, but you guys probably have already seen I'm struggling, so I don't know if it'll be in my budget. Yeah. But I'm trying to see if there was anything else I was going to add to. I'm sorry, I should have written things down. I feel like the social isolation has like made me forget how to speak. I'm struggling. I'm like start using sign language. But yeah, I don't know if there's anything else that I was going to say. I think the most important thing is just to keep on widening the circle. Oh, I know another thing. One of the things I used to do is stay up really late at night, and I would go to all of the mainstream outlets like CNN, ABC, whatever, and I would just, now you'd have to use like a different account, like probably a alternative account that you are willing to sacrifice if it gets banned. But I was able to use my own account, and I would get like 50 people per night to come over to my page and join my group. And I would just sit there like relentlessly and play music all night and be like, all right. And I would do like about 100 comments. I would give myself like a goal, like, okay, 100 comments per night. And they would always be like, they made a rule that you have to comment, like say it's CNN and they put up an article about coronavirus or something like that. You have to have your comment have to do with whatever they posted about coronavirus. So then you just say things like, coronavirus, well, that's really interesting. But did you know that Julian Assange is actually a political prisoner? And I wanted you to know this. And then you put in the link and you put it, and before back then we could put in like memes that were the same size as the article. So I had like cat memes galore all over the place. So it was pretty yeah, you can do a lot. You can hijack the hashtags. It's a really good idea.
I've written things on kitten pictures before, in desperation and in frustration, because I do realise that everyone on Facebook anyway that sees my posts are all 100% activists and probably a few trolls, and that's it. And I've got a lot of local friends who haven't got a clue what I do, and probably, you know, I've tried to talk to some of them, but you know how you give up with your local friends because you just can't deal after a certain amount of time, can you? It's too much. Yeah, but I've certainly noticed a massive cut down in that reach. So those sort of tricks are so valuable. I definitely agree.
And they'll call you a Russian spy, only they'll call you a dog meme or a puppy meme instead of a cat meme, but I'm a cat.
Yeah.
But well,
on Facebook, if I write 21 trillion lost by the Pentagon on a cute picture of a kitten, and I go, oh, look at this cute kitten, and no other words, it actually gets through to everyone. And I noticed suddenly all these friends, actual real world friends from down the road, were seeing it, and that would never happen. So I've noticed a discernible difference. In fact, I noticed this in New Zealand, this kind of censorship and blocking, this shadow banning, I think before many people did, and I think they tried it out on New Zealand first because we're so passive. And then I was in a lot of Bernie groups once upon a time when I thought that was the way forward. 2016, so you'll have to forgive me. But yeah, I was in a lot of Bernie groups, and I used to tell American friends, there's something going on. Like, there's a difference between a post that's political and a post that's like a kitten. And they would go, oh, don't be silly. Because they were still all getting 50 likes for posts, whether it was a kitten or a political post. That was not available to me during the Bernie days when I was in 100 Bernie groups. And I was telling people, and they thought I was a conspiracy theorist. And now everyone knows this is the case. And so I wonder whether they actually guinea pigged us here in New Zealand. I don't know if anyone else thinks that, who's from New Zealand.
Well, it's possible. I mean, that's what my group was kind of known for, was the cat meme thing, although it's obviously like it's a joke because it's so cliche, everyone uses it. But I've even thought about writing the entire history of the Stop TPP battle in cat memes, like publishing it as a book.
I've just clicked your name on Twitter is Cat Memer.
Yes, I am Cat Memer.
Yeah, that's it. Now I get it. Now I get the joke. I didn't get it.
Yeah, that was the whole. Like what I did is, and the thing is, okay, I have to finish one thought at a time. I use cat memes, but with a subject like Julian Assange's life, it's very hard to keep it humorous. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I do.
It's, you know, you have like a little kitten that's like talking to its mom, like, Mom, why are they going to try to kill Julian? You know, like you try to make it very innocent and very understanding at a child's level so that people are very emotionally engaged. But
I think sarcasm is fine because I think the algorithm doesn't understand sarcasm. And that was actually the thing that made me realize that the censorship was full on and had changed from one day to the next. It was because I'd posted up a sarcastic text-only post on Facebook which said, vote for Hillary so that Syrian gas pipes can flow across not into Russia and into here, and so that all these Donald Rumsfeld can profit from Genie Energy. And, you know, it was like the most sarcastic post you've ever seen, with a whole bunch of crimes, war crimes, everything all listed. And obviously there weren't enough keywords in there because that post on my Facebook somehow got artificially pinned to the top of my page. And for 3 months after I'd made that sarcastic post during the primaries, that stupid post about Hillary that was completely sarcastic sat there, and it wasn't my page, it was my own timeline, and you can't do that. So I suddenly thought, what's going on here? This is strange. I had to actually delete the thing in order to get it off. It was bizarre.
It's very strange. Well, other than that, I mean, if anyone else wants to talk, you're welcome to. The only other thing I was going to, there's something else that keeps running through my head, like running back out.
Chat to us and we'll bring you back later, and I'll go back to the Midnight Poetry Band in a bit and see if they are ready to do their thing, unless someone else is waving to me profusely somewhere, or if Joe knows of someone in chat that needs to be heard. I saw that David's on the chat, Outsider. Let's see if I can.
Yeah, a few of our YouTube regulars have popped into the Zoom for better quality. Hey, one thing I did want to mention, it was sort of probably applies more to me as a tech person. I do tech for fun, right? So my day job is physical on the ground, and hence I've got a enforced holiday for 4 weeks, which is where a lot of this sort of stuff ends up being a lot easier to do. I've got the time, and so certainly I do remember the challenge that Elizabeth gave to us, Kat Mema, to build that letter to the editor tool, and certainly it's within technical capabilities of myself and I, and it's just usually a matter of time amongst family. My darling gives me a look across the things, but certainly there's a bit more time now that we're all on lockdown and forced to stay home, and our only tools of communication are the ones that are fairly native to me.
Well, Joe, I'd like to give a big thank you to your wife, who's allowed me to sit here and troubleshoot fake streaming to the internet all day to try and do this properly. Totally. So I'm really sorry to her for screwing up your day. Is that all you wanted to say, Joe?
No, that's fine. No, that's all I wanted to say.
Okay. So we have obviously Fiona, we've just spoken to Elizabeth Mueller, we've got Paddy on live on radio, and if he ever wants to come back in, I guess chat or something like that, and I can see that. How about Midnight Poetry Band? Are you guys ready? I'm going to unmute you then. I want to hear what's going on in this imagery here. Let's hear you.
All right, can you hear us?
Yep.
All right. We have a song to play. Let me see if it works.
But just explain that we're going to lip sync it.
No, don't tell them. We're gonna have music and performance if technology is willing.
We don't have plugs.
So let us know if this music is coming through.
Am I not meant to play this one?
Was that the YouTube that you'd shared?
Yeah, I just went to the YouTube link.
Is that what they're trying to show?
I don't know.
I can share it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll go back to the screen here now. That's so good. It's just looking at. I don't know how to make it so that we can see you and hear that. And I think the problem with Zoom is that it packets up sound so that music is impossible. Because I would have done violin and everything if I could. So.
But they're obviously playing something in the background there.
Yeah. Is it still? It's not muted, but it's not working now. So, Fiona, I want to come back to you because I don't think I've fully finished talking to you. Oh, look, there's something going on there. We've now got.
It's pretty psychedelic.
It is very psychedelic to see you guys,
It's
Midnight
awesome.
Poetry Band, even if we can't hear what's going on, and we can kind of imagine it. And I know that Sally is singing right now. And Sally is fabulous. Sally is the unofficial tour guide of the Pussy Riot when they came to New Zealand. And that's how we got in touch. I've actually got a fantastic photograph of Sally in a WikiLeaks t-shirt with Timothy, my musical buddy, and Maria from Pussy Riot, which is one of the most fun photos. And it's right in front of New Zealand Parliament. So that's kind of cool. And these guys, actually, if you look up the Auckland, we can go to some sharing screens later and do some stuff on Facebook. If we want to look at videos, we can certainly do that. That is so gorgeous. Fiona, what do you think? You know these guys well too, don't you? Because you're in Auckland. So you can probably fill us in on what's going on in the music department there.
Yeah, well, they haven't really played on the street for us yet.
Oh, I
Obviously,
saw something. Was that someone else playing?
that was a busker that we enlisted from across the road, and we paid him some money to come and sing outside the UK embassy.
Brilliant.
Which he did. And then he let us use his microphone to talk.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And tell the story of the truth of Julian Assange.
Nice.
So, anyway, I don't really know what else to say, except I feel like this whole thing is just basically a huge war on truth. Many, many areas and different levels right across the globe. And that there's a huge attempt to propagandize the whole population of this earth and get them to submit to a new world order, which is run by a group of elitists, and we do all their bidding, which there's too many of us waking up for that to be possible right now, I think, which I'm rapt about.
I think sometimes my conspiracy is that they're using this virus right now is because it has got to that point. It's got to that point where the dissent was bubbling so much, that we are there. That as real as this is, I'm not saying it's not real, but I do feel that it's being jumped upon and amplified to the level that we've never seen.
Yeah. Well, 20 years ago, when they were kind of talking about how there was an attempt to bring in hate speech, I used to think that was so over the top and ridiculous that would never happen. And now we see it happening all around the world. If you speak out of line with what they don't want to hear you say, that's hate speech. Anything's hate speech if it doesn't fit in with the agenda or the propaganda.
Yep.
So that's what we face now. The world we live in.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I totally agree, Fiona, and I can't thank you enough for what you managed to achieve in Auckland. And I wish I was more organised. I wish I was more tech. And I've got some bizarre skills, and I have done like geomapping, geocoding, and so I thought I could put them to work. And then Fusion Google was just ripped out from underneath me.
Have we got Mitchell here from Perth for Assange?
So hang on, Fiona, I'm going to mute you for a minute unless you have anything else to say. And then I've got, so who's that, Joe? Who have we got? Perth for Assange. Perth for Assange, shall I unmute you? Or is that not who I'm talking to? Unmute. Are you there, Perth for Assange?
Yep, can you hear me?
Yeah, awesome. You're on.
So I'm Mitchell. I started the Perth Western Australia group. I was actually from New Zealand originally, lived in Hamilton and Auckland, but moved here. I've lived here for now 10 years. So I just wanted to share what we've been doing. So we first went out in January and we actually printed letters, and then we had a space down here where people could sign their address and their name. And then based on their address, we look up their federal politician, and we send that letter, we go to the office and deliver the letter. So we did that about 10 times, 3 or 4 hours. We just set up the table, put our letters on the table, pens to sign the letters, and then just those 10 times, about 3 or 4 hours, we had 480 letters signed from people, and we've delivered them to basically every federal politician in our state. And also we've had letters to the council. So we've successfully got Fremantle Council, which was a city in Perth, it's on the coast, and they've supported Julian Assange. We've also sent 100 letters to the Foreign Minister, Maurice Payne. So I think if you guys think that's a good idea, I'd definitely recommend it.
Totally. Yes, and we need this skill, like the thinking around these, and I think low tech is an answer. Definitely paper, signing paper pallets as well, but faxes even. So the digital, if we can get the tech people to coordinate the sort of digital market and the scheduling of it, then maybe this low tech approach is fantastic.
Yeah. You get a lot of people come up and they say, I'd never usually sign a petition like this, or I never usually get involved in something like this, but this is just wrong. And then you can also, we also have another piece of paper where people sign a petition, and we ask them to put their email, put their phone number, and then we say, can we contact you? And they tick that box, and if they tick that box, then you can add them to your group or contact them about events, stuff like that. So that was actually a tip that we got from the Amnesty International president of WA, and I've also been talking to them. So
are they supportive? I mean, I know that everyone knows that Amnesty Australia or Amnesty in general put out a petition 3 working days before the extradition trial, which in my book, I should probably not say this live, but in my book, because I've been actively campaigning against them, that was an insult. And if you ask me, that was about getting fundraising. That was about capitalizing on the peak time of anger and its interest and then making money out of it. So I've been at Amnesty for years. So I'd be very interested to hear if you've got a different story to tell about Amnesty, please.
Yeah, I'll tell you. So I think it was late last year, I called the Amnesty president of WA, which is the state where Perth is, and she agreed to have a meeting, and I went with another person that I met on Facebook through my group, and we just talked to her about the whole situation. And she basically understood. She said she was very supportive. She said she'd be willing to help with us. I've spoken to the union as well, so your union that you probably have an Amnesty group. Just talked to the organisers of that, and they also agreed to have a petition and the letters out at their tables. Actually,
Please support this action. Patrick is saying, please support this action. So that's okay. That's definitely right. Patrick is off mute and off video at the moment. Ah, there you are. I lost Perth, and I thought maybe you could come back on for me, Patrick, and talk to us, because you obviously like that idea that you just heard from Perth, and I want to go back to him, because that. I mean, I know people have been saying this before, but the actual idea of physically getting their signature is brilliant, and I don't know why we haven't done that here.
I was not paying attention to Perth. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I just was jumping on because we lost Perth, and Perth were just talking about how they were printing out quality letters that basically most people can't disagree with, and getting people to physically sign paper copies and having a whole bunch of them, and they've managed to send off about 400 letters to MPs by physically getting addresses. So hopefully we'll get him back soon. I don't know what happened, but he seemed to cut out. He must have left the meeting accidentally. So I just thought I'd jump to you because you were there.
No problem. So we started this campaign here with these pictures, with the statement for Mr. Assange behind bars. You have taken part, Alex?
Yeah.
I have a picture for you.
Can you talk more into the microphone, just so that we get as clear as possible?
Okay. Can you hear me good? Is this okay? I can't. Oh, okay. Yeah. So we started this campaign, I think, 2 weeks ago, and now we have 60 people sending us pictures. I think this is a quite good result for starting this for the first 2 weeks. So everybody clicking on this link and looking at this little video, I would appreciate it if you can support this action. Yeah.
Great. So we are definitely going to support that campaign, and I think we should all learn something potentially from Perth there, because it's just so low tech and so simple. It's just the sort of thing we need to get onto. I wanted to ask Perth whether they had been fundraising their own money to print out all this stuff, and whether they found any good ways of dealing with that. But I'm not sure if they're hearing me. Sounds like sound's gone. Yeah?
Yeah, you can hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Ah, cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, so with the funding, no, I haven't actually got any funding, but a few nice people if I just mention that it costs money to print and send the letters sometimes. If the parliamentarians are far away, I have to send a letter. It costs $1 for the stamp. But they just give me like a $5 note or a $10 note. And yeah, I've had another guy on Facebook even send me $50. I've just kind of mentioned it to people, but haven't really started my own fundraising because I don't want to kind of take away from the main donations to WikiLeaks and stuff like that. And it's actually very cheap. So if you go to Officeworks, a black and white page is 8 cents. So print 100 for $8. 1,000 envelopes I bought for $13, and I wrap them all individually in the envelope so that whoever's opening them has to open them all. They don't just get a pile of the same pieces of paper and then can kind of like
count them as one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So they have to open each letter, and yeah, they have replied, but usually the replies are just the Australian government is saying we cannot intervene, which is obviously not true because they have in the past for other journalists. There's a case of Peter Greste.
Yep.
And also James Ricketson was a filmmaker, and there's clear evidence that our government did interfere. Even the Foreign Minister used the word intervention for one of those journalists previously, and now they're saying they're Julian Assange. So I don't know. It's just.
Well, I think that's an amazing endeavour that you've organised there, and I don't even know why that sort of thing. I mean, I think MEB told me first about getting clipboards. I don't know if you can see this, but we've got where is it there? Whoops, yeah. I keep on going the wrong place. We've got this Candles sign-up sheet now, and we only just started doing that recently. I think Patrick, one of the reasons Patrick's done so well is because he was just going out there every week at the same time, the same place, just made it a weekly date, and that just brought a whole lot of people on. That consistency really worked there. So these kind of ideas, they're so low tech and simple, and I think we need to activate them in a really professional way. And I think we have the skills. We've got the Joe, we've got the Joe Booths who are technical, and we've got people that are a bit jack of all trades. I'm a bit like that. There's so many people that we can get on board. The problem is that whenever you try to do anything like Unity4J does, or I don't know about the Action for Assange people, how they've found it, and they've certainly had a lot of trolls and agents on their streams and problems with their streams, but I wonder how other people are coping with it and whether it's going the same way for them. Sorry, I'll just so Paddock, I see that you're live streaming us. I don't know if you want to talk or if you're in the middle of a live stream right now, but unless someone else specifically, maybe Joe can let me know if there's someone else who wants to talk. I can either I'll just unmute you there, maybe, if it's unwise. I don't know.
Yeah, if RSFO or Yvonne or any of the others that are sort of lurking in here just wanted to even just say something.
Yvonne?
To share video.
Okay, I would love to hear. I would love to hear from some people.
Would be good to hear from you.
Yvonne, here we go. I'm going to unmute you.
Hi.
Hello. Welcome. I don't know. Probably I know you online, and I don't know that you're going to have to introduce yourself.
I'm Evie online. I'm from Vienna.
Cool.
Yeah, we do the candles. We were doing the weekly videos too.
Yeah.
In Vienna every Wednesday. Yeah. I wanted to say something. Well, thank you to you for all your help as well.
No worries.
I'm a bit shy to speak, really. Yeah, we were doing very well, and we were reaching a lot of people, really. Because we were standing in the middle of Vienna, and so I was talking to people from Mexico, from Greece, from Italy, and we had a really good thing going. And now it's a bit difficult because of what Patrick was talking about. It's a great idea, a one-person protest. But what happened to me was the day after Julian got arrested last year, I went to the British Embassy and stood outside the British Embassy with a sign that I made, "Don't extradite Assange." And the policeman from the embassy came over and said to me, "Are you having a laugh?" kind of thing. And he couldn't leave. I was across the road. He couldn't leave the boundaries of the embassy. And he said then, "Oh, well, you'll see. And I thought, what is going on here? And I thought, that's so funny. And then all of a sudden, a police car turned up and I was escorted away and all my details were taken. So having a solo protest is quite difficult over here, I have to say. I'm a bit afraid of it after that. And I went to actually the next day, I made this T-shirt and went
Is that your sign behind you, Yvonne? Is that your sign? That's the one?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's the one that we hang up.
Yeah. The one in the background, it started off as I'll go the other way. The one in the background, it started off as a Free Julian sign, and then it became a Free Julian Assange sign because we've worried that not enough people knew who Julian was, which just surprised me.
Yeah, it's amazing actually that very many people don't know. And then the people who do know generally do support, are for his release or something. I don't know what I was going to say now. Yeah, solo protests. And the other thing I wanted to kind of mention was that I can't remember now because the days have all gone into one another, but we were actually in Parliament in Austria. And the Austrian Parliament stood up. I mean, in the speech, I was trying to look for it to actually get the wording. I can't remember what the actual wording was, but they all stood up in support. It was whistleblowers and Assange. They kind of tend to over here put him into the whistleblower thing. But I think they're doing that because of the European law. There's a new law for whistleblowers, so they're trying for protection for whistleblowers, so they're trying to kind of push them into this bracket. I think that's what's going on. So actually, the whole of Parliament stood up and said that they were for his freedom and for protection of whistleblowers, And
that's great.
Yeah, but I didn't see it anywhere. No paper report. I was the only person and the woman from the Green Party who actually said anything about it.
I think
amazed me.
We're always surprised by these things because, like I keep on saying, we're in these kind of crazy silos. And my only feeling of comfort from that, because it does increasingly frustrate me because I feel like I've been dealing with it, but my only comfort from that is that they are too in their own silo by definition, and their silo is shrinking and ours isn't. And I understand where you're coming from. You feel like how can no one know this? I'm always amazed, and I always start talking at 100 miles an hour, and then people have to, especially like if I go on local radio, people have to go, wow, that's a crazy allegation. Where have you got the facts? And they start to sort of pull you back down and sort of freak out. But it's so surprising to them, and I'm amazed that they don't have any of this news because I'm in this bubble of Julian and anti-war and free press, and so I don't have a clue that these people haven't got a clue. And that's why you see that the establishment is more and more out of touch, and that's why the political parties are so out of touch. They're being advised based on a smaller and smaller and smaller audience. You can see it, and so I think we can be encouraged by that.
I mean, in general, though, I was listening yesterday to a podcast where they were talking about how people, how do you say, like their ideas or beliefs in this day and age that we're getting so fractioned. Like a group of people believe this thing, like the coronavirus is from China, or it's from the USA, or it's from Russia, or it's this, or it's that, and that their beliefs are being we're all being kind of sectioned off into different.
Yeah, there's so many things to divide us. But we do need things to unite us.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, in some ways, the COVID has given us another fracturing because we have Brexit fracturing, and we've got, because there are people that believe in democracy and can see the unelected power establishment and think, it's futile. And if you look at their COVID response in EU, it's so bad that I think Italy and Greece and God knows how many countries will be exiting or whatever the Frexit. I mean, we already know that if France had any kind of free speech, really, that they would have listened to the protesters after 60 weeks of craziness. But nothing's emerged, has it? Yeah. Sorry,
Well,
I'm
in
mumbling.
at the end of the day, then, you know, sorry, but I go back to the Parliament thing. So we're like, yes, hooray! Like as if we'd had this huge victory, and then nobody's even talking about it. So then I was like, okay, so what's next then? And it's like, oh well, it goes to the EU. Well, yeah, good. So what use is the EU? What use is the? I don't mean this like as a bad thing to Niels Melzer, not at all. But what? I'm sorry, I'm just frustrated. What use is it? You know, it obviously it must have some. I'm feeling a bit frustrated about it all. You know, we're just jumping around the Parliament to say yeah, and then oh well.
I think we're all frustrated, and I'm most disappointed in normal people. I mean, before I came to work at home, I just work as an architect at home, and do probably about 50-50 activism architecture, and only because my husband kind of can just about support us even if I wasn't working, and I'm in a privileged position, so I do that. But one of the things I did a few years ago was I was a lecturer in architecture. And I'm also a signatory of the 9/11 Architects and Engineers for Truth. And one of the things that completely made me bash my head against the wall was when I think if Greg had got on the live stream, I don't know if Greg is here, but if Greg had got on the live stream, he would tell you all about it. He wrote to all the academics in New Zealand and my old colleagues at Victoria University and said, please, we need someone to do a study on 9/11 because engineers in Alaska have just proven that Building 7 was a controlled demolition. And none of them responded, not even slightly. Even people I know won't respond about Assange. They won't respond about anything that challenges them. And it made me question the whole academic scene that I was in. I started to think, well, what are these people doing if they're not commenting on free press, if they're not commenting on journalism, and they're not commenting on 3 buildings dropping down at freefall from fire, which has never happened, and the institutions won't even look at it. That is, for me, speaks such volumes, and it really, really pissed me off in terms of my previous academic career, and so much so that I have one paper that I managed to write during my academic career, and it's in Taylor and Francis, and I've recently found out that Taylor and Francis are fully responsible for blocking a British company blocked an American university from revealing that the 2017 chemical attack in Syria was fake. So the similar thing happened in April of the previous year to the OPCW that we all know about, which is a recent WikiLeaks release that shows that the chemical weapons watchdog in the UN is corrupted to the point of, the whistleblowers. Thank God there are so many people willing to come out, engineers, people on the ground, everyone there just said, no, this report is a fictitious system, and that's what prompted Trump to bomb Syria. So really, if we can break through these ridiculous lies, it would be a good start, and I can understand why you can feel frustrated. I certainly am with my friends, academics, journalists in New Zealand, politicians. I mean, I've already been banned from my MP, and it wasn't my MP that banned me. He wants to meet with me. It's the gatekeeper at his desk that won't let me through. So, I understand so much. And Ilvia, I must say, I love your work, and thank you so much for what you've achieved. Many of us are just one person or a very small group of people battling away in our local area and doing what we can.
Yeah, I thank you all as well, Unity for Jay, and you as well, Alex. We've chatted before, and Patrick. And thanks for doing this. And just what you were talking about there, it reminded me of this gaslighting, actually.
Yeah.
What you were talking about. And that's so, that is frustrating. And I mean, yeah, I'm frustrated how must he feel now after a year in prison. It's disgusting what's going on. And
isn't it interesting how we were all saying this is not about Julian Assange, this is all of our rights, you know, he was just in the way of them, as I think Ian maybe mentioned before. It is so true now for everyone who's suffering from a little bit of confinement in their own homes with everything they need around them, you know, and the ability to go out at least to get supermarket shopping if you're not a kid. Here in New Zealand, we're certainly walking around and getting exercise, but we have had neighbours reporting on each other, calling sound control because people are having wine on their driveway and chatting to the person on the next driveway. You know, it's like no one has houses that are 2 meters, sites that are 2 meters wide. So why can't we do that? And we're getting, you know, people happy to call in and report on each other. And I'm very frightened about this new world if this is the case.
We had that, sorry, but we had that too as well. I was watching a live stream of Austrian TV, and the woman was going around the street. It was like really hilarious for me. It's like so ironic. So, let's see who's on this. What are you doing on the street here? What are you? And then she actually described herself as police TV. As in, really proud, you know. It's like, oh yes, well, ring up if you're anybody on the street, you know. Get the fuck off the street. Sorry, but going around. What are you doing? What are you doing? No, really, yeah, it's really worrying, you know. And I am a bit like conspiratorial as well about it, because I said this 2 weeks before it happened. They're going to lock us down. We're not going to be able to demonstrate. That was the only thing I could think about. We're not going to be able to demonstrate anymore. And it really happened, and but that's another story.
I think we were up. I was just boasting before people were starting to shut down. I actually was just about to boast 50 cities that I was listing that were doing regular events, and it was a hell of a package, because it was, some people were doing fortnightly, and some people were doing weekly, and some people doing monthly, and some people were just whenever, and it was really quite hard to try and package that up in a way, because I'm not technically minded enough to do a really great website, and the German guys have done an amazing job on their website. It is mostly German, but you can click for some of the things to turn into English, but it's a bit difficult, and so there's not really the joined up, because we're not a big organization with funding. It's really difficult to join us all up, and I guess Unity4J was one of the reasons why I was very worried about going out for funding, because of Susie's thoughts on that. Joe, what's your feelings on funding these days? Because Susie was really, really worried about appearing like a grifter.
Yeah. I mean, we never really wanted to say, hey, we need, give us money, because then, what will we do once we got it? But you sort of do need money to operate, as the guy from Perth was saying. Mitchell, you do need a few dollars here and there, and I had to call out in the Discord the other day, can someone give me, I think it was $12 to renew the domain name? With this crazy Corona thing, we're on limited incomes, and I'm not working, so whatever the government's willing to give us. So it can be, but certainly HQ in the lobby. Hey, one thing, I think RSFO's here.
RSFO?
You wanted to say a few things. You're a regular in our YouTubes, and have certainly been around and talked to a few people.
Can you unmute him, Joe?
Hello?
Hello.
You hear me?
I hear you.
I don't know what I should add. I have been on board.
Just tell us a bit about your experiences and who you've seen and where you've been.
Yeah.
Well, I have been on the internet most of the time, and been on board Unity4J once it spawned. Actually, it spawned out of Susie's Decipher You streams, because once they shut down Julian's internet, it morphed into Unity4J, and I was on board immediately. And I don't know, what should I add? I went to London more than a month ago, so thought someone should. I think they needed as many people on the streets as possible for that.
Yeah,
So
did you say that you met an Alex and you thought it was me in London? I mean, I am from London, but I haven't been there since May last year.
I probably just conflated you. I met a lot of people.
Yeah.
I certainly met Joe Loria from News and Patrick Henningsen and Taylor Hudak and then quite a few more people.
Patrick Batash from German Candles for Assange, because he is like fundamental. And I also want to give a big, there's going to be loads of people I forget because they're not on this live stream, but I did invite Issy as well, who's the other person in Germany who's doing amazing work, and the Free Assange German group is just going really strongly, so that's wonderful. And where are you from originally?
I'm from Copenhagen, Denmark.
Right, okay.
I was once the vice captain of the Danish Pirate Party before we decided to dissolve it due to lack of activity.
I guess
sadly.
we're all suffering from algorithms. I mean, I do not believe that these things would have failed 10 years ago, which is why it's hard when you haven't got a platform, to be able to do things on the level that Commander X is doing. And if you're not techie as well, then it's another level. Again, you're just not sure of what you're doing.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well,
what's the
just
position
seemed there
in
were
Holland?
not enough.
What's the position in the Netherlands at the moment? I know there's a couple of protesters there too.
Yeah, I don't know much about it.
Right. People have contacted me trying to get protests off the ground in Amsterdam and Den Haag, and I have tried to connect the people that I knew, but it's been pretty hard. Do you have ways of connecting people? Like, I would love if there were advocates for each country and they were well adverse to who the activists were and where they were based, so that you could say, you should meet up with this person. Maybe you guys can do something together, especially in this age where we might be needing to look at constituencies and going to MPs on Zoom meetings, which means that we have to organise to the point of having only people working together that are in that constituency. And I mean, there will be peaks and places where there are a lot more supporters. And I think because New York's been doing it weekly for so long, they're doing really well. And Mexico is doing really well. Germany's obviously doing great. And London, I've been so proud of what I've seen at London. There's so many groups.
Well, I would have liked that I had the abilities that CatMeme have, but I don't know if I'm a very good activist, but I have been dragged on board, and then I have taken action when people have said, now we are doing live streams, etc. So I'm not very good at any streets,
right?
Sadly.
Yeah,
that's not my strength.
I'm not very good at that either, and we've all got different strengths. So I think we need to connect with people who can work together and do those things, because everyone's got different skills.
Sure.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I'm primarily, I've got a family to look after, and I primarily interact with the world through the internet. So I find it's great that there's people out in the streets. But when lockdown came along and we had to stay in our houses, it's certainly it works well for me. Yeah. Hey, there's a couple of people in the waiting room, Mary Oha and
if you can flick them up the
I'm
top,
not sure if
so
either of them want to say hi.
Yeah, I'm totally happy to people to say hi. I'm totally happy to share things. I was thinking I might share my speech as well. I could share my 2-minute speech that was on in Wellington Parliament. If everyone here wants to hear my rant. If anyone, like Midnight Poetry Band have gone now, but maybe I can share their music.
Sorry, this is Paddock Radio signing in. Can I just make a request if you are going to have a chat?
Oh my God!
Can you just introduce yourself where you are? Because we're actually live to air right now.
I'm just going to go to someone there that I recognise is Timothy! Unmute, Timothy.
It is Timothy.
Come here. Oh my God, so this is my musical buddy who lives around the corner that I can't see, and I haven't felt right about arranging secret meetings. Timothy! It would be great if we could do some music live on Zoom.
Hey, so going back to what Paddock Radio was saying, we're live live on his channel.
Oh,
If we all
sorry.
just do a go round and just say where we're from, that would be awesome.
Okay, we
I'm
could
here
do a
from
round.
Wellington in New Zealand.
Okay, so I am from New Zealand and hosting this with Joe Booth at the moment. We are ex-Unity, well, Unity4J people, but also Free Assange New Zealand and Candles for Assange people. Paddock is on at the moment, but maybe if we go around, Timothy, do you want to say hello and tell them who you are?
Oh, hi. I'm Timothy. I'm in Wellington.
So you are my musical buddy, and he is the mastermind behind all the lyrics and the music, and I just really just riff along with it with my violin and then promote it. So we're a duo.
Awesome musician. Good jams together.
We can share some of that stuff at the end if you want. I'll leave it running. So is there anything you want to say, Timothy?
Oh, actually, I'm just listening for the time being.
Okay, I'll leave you to it.
Good to see you all. Patrick and Joe, nice to see you.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, then. If you're not talking now, I'll mute you. But if you want to just chat and let us know. Okay. So Joe, you were saying someone was. I thought that was who I was surprised with in the chat. But who are we talking to? We've got Mitchell back again. I don't know if we've got a better security. Are you on?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to say about maybe you feel like a bit hesitant to go out onto the streets. I definitely was. I just started it by making a Facebook event, and only 3 people came, and that was in November. And after that, I was pretty disheartened. Like, didn't do things for another probably 2 months. But when I did, more people came, and it was about 6 people the second time, just through Facebook and Twitter. And eventually, it just built up just pretty quickly, and we had a rally, and 40 people came, and that was just from Facebook and Twitter. And
was that
yeah,
Candles in July? Because I saw a massive group of people in Perth, and I put you guys in my video because it was such beautiful footage with the policemen coming down the mall.
Yeah.
I had to have that in there. It was great.
And also just with we're taking a table out and getting people to sign letters. And so at first we had 1 table, and now we've got 3 tables. So we can actually do, and we've got like probably 12 people that have been involved with that. So you just need 2 people to stand behind a table, just someone there to talk to. And people just will come up to your table if you have a banner, and they'll just sign the letters. And it's just kept growing and growing. And I've just met all these people, and you just talk to people, and then they say they might come next week, and they might have a table or a banner that they bring. A lady called Nick just donated her banner to me. I'd never met her. She just came up to me and said, "You're the guy for Facebook. Yeah, have this banner." And so yeah, I'm like,
have you been able to convert that effort and energy and those people that are available? Have you managed to find any way of kind of activating it in the last couple of weeks to do anything, get some online stuff happening, or just planning for the future?
Yeah, I'm not too sure about the online stuff. I'm really hoping that this lockdown will be over, especially in WA, because it's isolated from the rest of Australia and New Zealand as well. Like, I think you guys pretty much got it under control for now, so I'm hoping that soon, like, you'll be open up. And I think we should just plan for a big event as soon as this is opened up, because this trial is still going ahead. Yeah, so just plan the event now. Contact everyone online. I mean, everyone's at home, so they're available to talk to, which is good.
Yeah,
you can ring musicians, all the musicians that you might want to play at your events and stuff. They're all looking for stuff to do.
Right.
So as soon as this is over, we need to get out there, and I'm going to talk to Amnesty and ask them to actually hold a rally, because I think they are in support of us here in WA.
Well, is this a local chapter of the Amnesty, did you say?
Yeah, Amnesty West Australia.
Right. Yeah, because I think the ones that I focused on were probably the international ones. And what happened when I focused on Amnesty, two things happened. Once was when I was outreach. Susie asked me to do some outreach, and I wasn't really sure about what I was doing, and I was a bit like a bull in a china shop. But one of the first things that other supporters were trying to encourage me to do was contact Amnesty, and that's why I kind of got so involved, actually, in pissing them off. But what happened was that I wrote an email to Amnesty Australia, and their media person called back and emailed straight back with this amazing bullet point list of their support for Julian. And there were a few disclaimers in there, but it was essentially a supportive statement, which, considering that their website was showing a smear about Sweden from 2012 up until 3 days before our trial in February, sorry. It was just amazing. And so we got this response from this media person. It turned out to be a single person and their feelings on it, and they were knowledgeable, and so they instantly gave their feeling back, or some kind of unofficial message came out of Amnesty. And luckily we got it published really quickly, and WikiLeaks posted it to their timeline just before they managed to retract it and say, oh, this was just one person acting in an office giving her opinion, and it's not what Amnesty think. And so that was an interesting thing, but it certainly ruffled their feathers, and they didn't act then. And the reason we were on to them then was because Chelsea Manning was being banned, and Amnesty Australia was doing quite a lot for Chelsea, and so from New Zealand, that was hosting her live streams because she couldn't go to Australia, we started putting on the attack on Amnesty. And so that was an interesting response. And the other one was MEB and I were discussing a shamnesty protest around about, December, I think it was. And so we had literally just sorted out a logo that said Shamnesty, and she was going to do London, and I was going to try and get people to do offices, or at least ring them everywhere. And before that protest even came about, they put out their positive statement, and everyone was asked to shut up and put those memes away from what's going. Hello, Paddy, are you on? Hello. Maybe you should go full screen. I can't hear you.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm actually muting through my desk, so I'll just change my.
I couldn't resist the picture-in-picture opportunity there. Sorry.
It's an infinite fractal of supporters. See, there's so many of us. Okay, sorry. Where was I? I'm back here.
Sorry, I
talking
distracted
to you,
you.
Mitchell. There you go. Sorry about that. It's a bit choppy.
Yeah, we were, I guess, pretty annoyed at Amnesty as well, just the lack of kind of action. But I think you've just got to put that behind you. Like, now that they're on board, he's on the website. He was on the front page of the Australian website for a few weeks. Yeah, I think you can really go to they have these groups called local action groups, who are basically groups of activists, I guess. And if you look up your local action group, you can go to those meetings and actually just ask them to act on this. Just make it about human rights, make it about health, freedom of speech. Don't need to go into other stuff that they might not be interested in, but they will support you, I think.
Okay. Well, I would like to think that's true, and it's not just about money and how many people they could get 3 days before the extradition trial with the minimum amount of actual effect. That's what it certainly seemed like to me. But I will give them maybe the international secretariat who is the person that makes the decision. So effectively, that's the CEO, whoever's the top of Amnesty, decides what their campaigns are, and that was their complaint, that they would like to act, but they can't because the international secretariat effectively is telling them what they can and cannot. And for whatever reason, 3 days before the trial, that was lifted. And I'd be very curious as to why that was lifted and when and then.
They probably had a heads up on your action impending on Shamnesty.
I'd love to think that.
Decided that was the best route.
Yeah. I don't think we were going to be a huge protest, but I think we were having quite a draw online because it was going out with the candles and Emmy stuff and Julian Assange Defence Committee in London. So a lot of people were seeing it potentially.
They told me that they looked at my previous Facebook and Twitter posts before they wanted to talk and meet with me. So if you posted anything bad about them, they might not want to talk to you.
I think that I'd be already banned. I have a feeling I actually don't think they like me very much, personally. I have the board member of Amnesty in New Zealand's number, and I was ringing her up in Myanmar and stuff, and I think she's had enough. And I was polite, but I can be a bit bull in a China shop. I'm not the politest person because it just, you do feel like you're smacking your head against the wall sometimes, and you can't help but lash out. And I wish I could be Tulsi Gabbard and just, even though the topic that you're talking about is atrocious and disgusting, and not that I'm approving of what she's done now, but actually, the way that she is able to calmly
statesman-like quality.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I wish I could channel that, but I am not that person. So I am better used in the sarcastic bitch slap to full in a China shop option. Not so good for being diplomatic, possibly.
Have you seen the video where Donald Trump says about WikiLeaks that he thinks there should be the death penalty?
Yeah, I have seen that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and also I've seen the video where he said, "We love WikiLeaks," and I've seen Cassandra Rule's video, which is actually the most telling, and I would 100% recommend people. I actually made my first documentary video on my Alex Hills channel, and if you go down about 5 or so videos, Cassandra Fairbanks is probably the biggest video that I've managed to do yet, and just listen to that call if you want a little glimpse of what's going on in the Trump administration, because I think Trump supporters do support Julian, and they're in cognitive dissonance mode at the moment. They're going, "Oh yes, Q, trust the plan, he's going to be pardoned. Oh, we just need to get him out of the evil British justice system, and once he's extradited, he'll be fine." But do you get the feeling he's going to be fine in America? Because from that call, Cassandra Fairbanks, it just totally blows it out of the water, and I don't even understand how Q can carry on with their bullshit at this point, really, actually. And I mean, this is speaking from someone for the first week of Q, and I was onto it in October of, what was it, 2018 even? I was onto it then, and I was sucked in. I thought, God, if this is real, this is fantastic. Wouldn't it be great if Trump really was cleaning up the deep state? Wouldn't that be lovely? Wouldn't it? But it was quite clear very, very quickly that was not the case. And I immediately just went, no. And obviously, you start to see other journalists calling it out. I sort of thought, yeah, no, this is stupid. This is obviously not real. And now I've come to the conclusion that it is just the antidote to the complete bias in the MSM against Trump. This is what you get when you do what you did in the MSM media. Because to be fair, and I don't like Trump, but he was actually spied upon. He was wiretapped. The Russiagate thing was a complete farce. We all know that. Everyone with the brain actually should know that. I think probably. Maybe I'm being, assuming again.
Well, the reason I brought up the death penalty thing is because the Australian government and the New Zealand government as well are both wholly against the death penalty. And they actually said that in Parliament because they were asked, what are you doing? Like, Julian says he's afraid to go to America because he'll get the death penalty. So what are you doing to oppose that? And she said, our foreign minister said, we've had assurances that he won't get the death penalty. But then there's this video on YouTube. I can post the link in the chat, and it's Trump saying, I think he should get the death penalty. So what I've done now in my newest letters, I've screenshotted the video, I've posted the link to the video, and I've quoted him saying that he should get the death penalty. And that's what I think we really need to ask the politicians. If you call them or speak to them in person or in your letters, you've got to ask them, the President of the United States said he should get the death penalty, and our government's opposed, so how can you not oppose this extradition?
I think part of that Cassandra Rules thing was that a deal was made with Ecuador that the death penalty wouldn't apply, and I completely agree with you. It's quite clear. But, I mean, it's also quite clear that Trump will say anything to appease anyone at any time, and it can be different within 1 second to the next, so it's difficult to know. how you can do, but your idea there of like combining maybe a snippet of that, and then combine it with a video of the UK going, oh yes, you know, we've totally ruled that we don't believe in the death penalty, and then, you know, combine it with a snippet of someone reading out factual details about the court case and what the judges said. You know, maybe that kind of tying together a few really key clips in a 2-minute Twitter-sized video that really put the cognitive dissonance to rest, you know, by things like you're suggesting.
Cool. Okay, I've got to go now. But
okay, Mitchell, well, we would love to hear more from you, because every idea you've come up with so far has been totally gold. It's sort of making us think in a much more low-tech way. And I do love that you think that the protests are going to come back on, but I am actually very skeptical on how much our powers will come back, and I don't think the group meetings are it. I don't think. We've even had discussion in New Zealand, and we've done very well here with the COVID, but we've had discussion about moving back to level 3, whatever that means, which is one stage less than that. I think you can go and have a work meeting, but I don't think the protests will be allowed at that stage.
I think Elizabeth wanted to have a word before she left as well. But
sorry, it's like I've been up all night, 6 a.m., so I'm starting to like fade and get really loopy. So I tried to write a few notes. Those were really great. I really appreciated though listening to everybody, and thanks to everyone for just speaking about it. I've learned so much tonight.
Are you in your bathroom because you're trying to keep quiet for the house?
Yes, I'm somebody else is sleeping in the room, but I come in here anyway because it's lit up. But I'll try not to do my live streaming in here. But yeah, what was I going to say? I just realized, you know, it is so important to do, going back to the idea of storybooking, what happened to Julian Assange. I think so. It really spoke to me, or reminded me how we are all so educated about this topic, and we've been sort of working with these with the story for so many years that we forget, how do you break it down to somebody that has no idea who Julian Assange is, or where do you even start? So I know that there are a couple flyers that are already circulating by Bean, who put them out, and they're excellent. But one thing I started doing is collecting all of the WikiLeaks documents that have Julian Assange listed in them, and telling his story through leaks.
Wow.
And I wanted to present it today, but too much is going on, and so I'm set back. But anyway.
Well, why don't we make a move now to have a May 18th one for New Zealand? Paddy, will you be going live on May 18 by any chance? Are you free to talk? Oh, he's in the middle of something, so we can't
this
talk
time.
to him.
This time next week, because the same time next week.
We could do the same time next week. I mean, if people want.
May
18th.
A week and a month away. Yeah.
Yeah. No, well, I was thinking of a big one. If we could do something like we've done here. I mean, Sydney got attacked today, but now we know how that cannot happen. Can we do bigger ones of these?
Available May 18th.
Great.
The Static Radio here.
Great. Okay. Are you live at the moment, or are you just between tracks?
Yeah, no, we're full live. We're taking you guys and all of your chats live as well.
Oh,
so
right.
we've been covering this whole thing for the last 2 hours.
Oh, you're amazing.
I've just been popping in and out because making sure that your vocals aren't going to feed back, because your vocals are actually live at the moment as well. So we've been covering absolutely everything that's been covered here on the channel. And it's huge. Thank you to everybody who's joined us from around the world.
Thank you, Paddy.
This is really quite amazing and totally unprecedented. All of the audio is going live on our YouTube channel, so that's youtube.com/PaddockRadio. It's also live on our Twitch channel, twitch.com/PaddockRadio. It's live on our Facebook feed, which is facebook.com/PaddyPaddock. And we're also live on our own audio-only website, which is paddockradio.net. We play music 24/7. That's all original content that's been sent in from people around the world. We're totally no ads and no, not for profit. We're run underneath the Burning Man principles, actually. So we connect to the Burning Man International Radio Network every Sunday, 2 p.m. New Zealand time, which is 5 p.m. West Coast, and I think it's about 7 p.m. on the East Coast in America there. We broadcast live around the world to all of the Burning Man satellite radio stations.
Are you part of Kiwi Burn?
Yeah, yes, but I'm not. I had this fight with them because they said, "Oh, you can be the official radio station for Kiwi Burn." I said, "Well, I have to really stress that Paddock Radio is 100% independent. We do whatever we want, and we will not be told we're the fourth estate. So, as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to just broadcast whatever I want. I built it. I made
Wicked.
it, it's mine."
Paddy, can I introduce you to my mate Timothy, who's my musical buddy, if he's going to talk again? I don't know. Are you in a car? Are you in a car, Timothy?
Yeah.
I reckon it's like a limo. I reckon he's in a limo.
This is why he's my best friend. See?
It's amazing to have so many people from around the world as well. Big shout outs to the people from Perth. And Elizabeth, whereabouts are you based at the moment? You're in America, right?
Yes, I'm in Princeton, New Jersey. I'm right outside of New York City. We're totally on, well, not complete lockdown like California, but it's pretty bad. We can only go to the store during a curfew and get food at certain times.
Here in New Zealand, we've been on lockdown for the last 14 days, I believe. And
really?
Yeah,
Completely locked down? Completely locked down, or just
lockdown. We've been on full lockdown for 14 days so far. It went to level 3 lockdown for 48 hours just so that we could get enough to get in. But the government's been saying that we're going to be on lockdown for another possibly 4 weeks. But really, from my point of view, I really think that it seems to be really quite effective at the moment. Where I am on Waiheke Island, we're broadcasting from a little island off the coast of Auckland City. Auckland's completely closed. Like the motorways are dead. Nobody's going anywhere, and a lot of the infection rates actually really stabilized. So it's interesting, and I really strongly support this sort of initiative that's happening right now, where we are moving to a more global connected sort of medium. And it's something that I've never really seen take off so well before, except for now that you got everybody locked in their house. So you got a captive audience here. It's great. So
it has been the catalyst for this kind of thing.
Yeah.
I was eyeing it up, thinking, "Oh, this lockdown's coming. This is going to be fantastic for internet-based enterprise and collaborative stuff over the internet." So when people started saying, "Oh, Zoom's the new thing," I'm like, "Yeah, well, it has been for quite some time for this kind of thing." Hey? Right?
Yeah. Well, there's been a chat message in the chat box here mentioning Jitsi. Jitsi is an open source free version of Zoom. And it's actually encrypted end to end, so jitsi.org. And you can pretty much start one straight away. We tried the other night, but this is really it's a really easy way to do it if you've got a Zoom account.
I think we're only doing this because of Susie Dawson, actually. So we should put out a big thank you to Susie Dawson right now, who's allowed us to use her special account that allows it to live stream to Unity4J.
Yeah, otherwise I don't think you can do more than 5 users at once, but
no more than 40 minutes.
Time limited and bits and pieces, yeah. But yeah, certainly I've participated in a few of the pirate beers they've been doing over Jitsi, and we've seen it can handle 15 odd people before it starts to fall apart. So for the bigger meetings, you sort of do need a fairly decent sized server to just say, Zoom, can we use some of your servers? Right. Certainly if you're looking for something that's secure and, well, you're not streaming it live to the internet in 16 different formats, then certainly securing your stuff and either running Zoom on premise or Jitsi on your own server or something like that is probably recommended if you're trying to stay secret.
And also just a question for everybody, all the attendees in the meeting, like, how's my audio sounding? Are you guys hearing yourself?
Yeah, no worries there.
Too bad? Sounding good?
Yep.
Oh,
I need a microphone like that.
Oh, awesome.
I mean, it might not be great if you were doing music. It's okay Zoom is okay for voices. What's the other one? Jitsi. What's that like for music? And also, is it the sort of thing that if someone has no skills, it's going to open up anyway, kind of thing? Because like some people are okay because you can just click a Zoom link and it seems to just open for them, but some people are not comfortable.
I believe what it looks like.
Alex.
the last couple of days, and it's relatively easy to start up. When you go to meet.jit.c, it just comes up, start a new meeting, you hit the go button, and then you can share that link with people. Now, as for moderating, I've never moderated a large Zoom call, so I'm not sure what it looks on your end if you're the
this is my first time, and only can do it because Joe has completely helped me all along. I've got someone from Belmarsh HQ asking to be unmuted, maybe?
Jump in. I'm gonna pull up, but just letting you guys know as well. Yeah, we are broadcasting this call live to air on all of my.
Okay, no worries.
Thank you.
Yeah,
awesome,
it looks
Paddy.
a little bit
Thank you for
complex,
that.
and there's lots of screens across the place, but certainly moderating is very good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Alex, can I just butt in for a minute?
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go soon, but the question that I'm itching to get an answer for, if anybody knows, does anyone know why Julian was not well enough to share, via video with his last hearing? Is there any news on that? And then I'll let Belmarsh HQ talk.
I don't know if I can answer that one. The person that has done the interview that I can most rely on and direct you to is the Consortium News one by Deepa Driver. Now, she's really open on Twitter. She's organising the Free the Truth conference today, though, so she'll probably be insane. However, it would be great to have some clarification because she's the one that overheard it, and so all she heard was a rumor, and as far as I know, we don't have any other information.
Yeah. We need to know, don't we?
And when I say she heard a rumor, sorry, she overheard the court people talking about it. So it's more than a rumor, but it's not something that is being reported by other journalists in there. It's just something that she overheard. Okay. And so she went on video to explain about that. But I think we're going to have some other people unpick it because at the moment, no one's allowed to visit Julian. And I was hoping to get Vivian Westwood's son on to talk because he was one of the last people to see it, and I think that he will be speaking at Action for Assange. Okay. I think he wanted a bit of a bigger audience in New Zealand potentially. We've done quite well, I'm pretty sure, but
yeah. Oh well, is it Belmarsh HQ?
Yeah, so I've got hand waving, but I don't know what to do about it, and I can't hear them. Belmarsh HQ.
You can't hear me? Can you hear me?
Is that you, Dave?
It's me.
Oh, you're not sharing the video today?
No, I don't know. I'm pressing. It's gone red.
You have to click. Yeah. I can't
cannot
start
start video because the host has disabled it.
Oh, Joe, can you undisable Belmarsh HQ? We can trust him. I don't think you're going to spam us with porn, are you, Dave?
Well, I don't know.
Hopefully.
I ain't got a top on.
Have you seen what happened to Sydney overnight? I don't know if you saw the Sydney one. So... That's all right. We can handle it. So, Dave, did you see what happened to Sydney tonight? So during your night, you've woken up in the morning, but you probably haven't seen it. But Sydney, we were on a talk today, and it was going great. Lisa Johnson from Doctors for Assange had just started talking. I was downstairs because I was told I was going to be last, so I was pottering downstairs and not even looking at this. And when I came back up, I found porn all over the screen. It's like, what the hell is going on? And so basically the Sydney protest was completely spammed to the point where they had no control and they had to just shut down and restart with a private meeting.
Oh, Christ. What was all that about? Who's done that?
It's pretty shocking. It's obviously not just normal people. Everyone goes, oh, who are these crazy people that haven't got anything else better to do with time? The way it worked was they held back until they build up a good amount of users and people listening, and someone really great who you don't want to discredit with things like that, especially Lisa, a doctor talking about someone who's been accused of being a rapist, who's a feminist who can speak out to these matters and not, make people angry. Yeah, it was a bit shocking. So anyway, Dave, would you like to have a yarn to the world unless someone else is itching to go?
Well, I'm just going to say, be prepared for 3 p.m. at Belmarsh Live, okay?
Oh, 3 p.m. today?
Yeah, 3 p.m. today.
That's 3 a.m. for us Kiwis, but for anyone in America, well, Elizabeth, you've got to go for a sleep first, surely. But
no,
but
I didn't want to interrupt.
We're going to break curfew. we are going to break off curfew. Okay.
Yeah, please
for
be
Juliet.
safe, Dave.
We'll be safe.
Make sure you're safe and keep solo and obey the rules. You know, if
Well,
you're doing nothing worse than a supermarket.
I'm a journalist. So
Good.
I'm working. Yeah.
Mm.
So I'm actually working. So they can't do nothing. Yeah.
Mm.
We'll maintain our social distance.
Have you got a press card then that you can find about?
Yeah, Julian's one. It's in my pocket. It's still active. Yeah. His press card runs out in June 21. So that's cool.
Okay.
I've got his press number as well. So I work for Julian. So
people who don't know, David is literally within the shadow of Belmarsh Prison in London at the moment. David has run a whole bunch of campaigns online and since the media.
See, the thing is, Unity for J knows me. Cool. I've been with them since day one.
Mm.
So I've been working with them.
Oh, but don't forget, this is not Unity for J. This is Candles for Assange with Joe. Yeah. This is a combined effort. We're all working together.
Yeah, so you should know me anyway. That's what I'm saying. You should know me.
Well, not everyone here is from Unity for J either. That's what I'm saying. So they won't know you. So you tell them about you and what you're doing.
Okay, well, I'm about 5 minutes away from the prison. Been following Julian for well over a decade. I've been really researching, haven't I, Alex? Can you hear me all right?
No, I just unmuted.
Have I been researching? I have, haven't I?
Yes.
What a lovely document we found the other day. Did you tell everybody about that document?
No, you tell them.
Someone's put in a civil legal action in the US to take down every single corporation you can think of that exists right now, and they put it through on the 20th of February. I'll send you the. I didn't send you it, did I?
You told me about it. You sorry, I have to unmute myself.
Sorry,
you told me about it.
Yeah, but I'm like, wow.
So do you think this case has much hope? I mean, won't they throw it out like everything else? It'll have to go to Supreme Court or some stupid thing, right? Have we lost Belmarsh HQ?
His audio seems to have dropped.
His audio's gone. Okay, well, hopefully we'll get him back in a minute. So Fiona, were you just signing off? Sorry, and you're still here. I'm going to unmute you.
Yes, I was just putting something in chat to say goodbye. Thank you, everybody. It's been very informative. I've taken notes of where you all come from and getting a handle on what you're all doing, and keep up the good work and we'll win this fight. It's a war on truth and it's raging. We have to win.
What I heard the other day is someone was talking about, I think it was Second Earth's channel or something, but because I've been trying to get Second Earth and some big channels that are on a completely different buzz. I've been trying to get them involved whenever they talk about something that seems to be related, and I think I've got the Second Earth guy, and he's got tens of thousands of at least followers, and so I put it out there to him on his channel because I thought maybe he might be someone that would forward it through. But one of the things he said, because his interest is in ancient history and stuff, was that you know, history being subverted by bullshit, was that we've literally gone through several civilizations that have risen and fall thousands of years to get to a point where people have the amount of voice that we have right now. And we are just literally about to throw it away, like literally just toss it out the door. And the UK justice system is making a fool of itself. It's actually not just gaslighting people, because anyone who's intelligent enough to look at it is so appalled that no one can take anything seriously that comes out of the UK anymore. I'm appalled. I want to burn my passports. I don't know about you, but I've got 3. I feel like burning 2 of them at least, if not all 3, because we can't travel anyway. What's the point?
You might have to if you don't want the coronavirus microchip implanted you with it.
Yeah, well, I was hoping to get there for May because my dad turned 90 in March, and I was trying to get my head around the amount of money to get over there, and I just didn't quite manage to get it together, and I haven't really felt great about fundraising, and so I haven't got there yet.
Okay.
I'm going to go see my dad, and I can't do that now. And if that is what is the result of this new world, is that we literally can't travel without having Bill Gates' vaccine, because I've had all my vaccines, but I'm not touching that one. Sorry. And my kids have had all of theirs, but I'm not having Amy having the HPV one because it's about big pharma. If there's any vaccines about big pharma, I'm not interested in 9 billion people, 6 billion people having them done forcibly. And yet online you see people cheering for this right now, cheering for this reduce rights. It's crazy.
Well, the video I watched on it said it's a brand new type of vaccine that actually uses DNA and RNA that combines with your DNA and changes your DNA. So it's a brand new type of vaccine. It sounds like a Frankenstein one to me.
It sounds like something that they could upload new RNA to, or some stupid thing, like it feels like that kind of dystopian future that we just don't know about technology. And I don't want to get too conspiracy theory, but I have no doubt that this is being used right now, and we could so much make it work the other way, because it has exposed globalism, it's exposed neoliberalism, it's exposed EU for being a farce, and unelected power establishments that don't care about the other countries. They're not really acting as one. Therefore, all they've done is made the small countries powerless. I think it's all being exposed so badly at the moment. It might even have been why they shut it down, because it was the perfect situation.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, time will tell, but keep on fighting, everyone. Stand for the truth.
Within the rules, as much as possible. I will be breaking the rules in 2 years' time. I promise you. In 18 months' time, I will be breaking the rules fully. But right now, we do it within the rules, and even if they're a little bit on the grey area, I'm pretty cool with that.
Yeah.
The coronavirus is going around Belmarsh prison.
Yeah, 2 people have already got it, apparently.
Has anybody died there?
1.
Ah.
Yeah, and what's interesting is Julian was in solitary, and that's the only report we got. We heard about him being moved to a more public wing, in that he could at least spend his 1 hour he gets out of his cell a day with other people, and that was the desire. Now, it's not the desire, and we hear reports that he is now in a crowded yard because there's no staff, and the prison is almost dysfunctional at this point. Wow. So really feeling safe about Julian Assange being in there. And if Epstein was killed in prison in America without COVID, and here we have COVID coming in, I wouldn't put it past them to inject COVID into him. I honestly wouldn't.
Well, lots of prayers. I'm going to go now, so say goodbye.
Thank you, Fiona, and thank you for everything you do. You're amazing.
Same to you. You're amazing. Keep it up. Bye, everybody.
Any words of wisdom from you, Timothy? I always say goodbye to Fiona.
Catch you later, Fiona. No words of wisdom from me.
It's a shame we can't do a jam across the Zoom. That would be so great. Or maybe we could do a driveway jam one day live.
Yeah.
Social distance, a physical distancing jam. Let's everyone start using the term physical distancing, not social distancing. Let's get away from this moving apart from our social people, and now let's talk about moving apart from physical only. So anyone else want to come in, or does anyone want me to play any videos or anything in particular that they'd like to say?
Actually, what's happening? So what's actually happening with Julian Assange and his court case? Like, have they got his court case then booked for a time during this lockdown period?
Yeah, they've totally ignored the lockdown. They're going ahead with the case. They've ignored all appeals to.
How many other cases are going ahead during the lockdown?
Maybe we should research in that. Free the Truth. Do you want to be unmuted? I'll unmute you, Free the Truth. You butt in if you want.
Yeah, sure. Hey, one thing that has concerned me, is with the trial, and it's a legal thing. And when Julian was out of the embassy, and then he was presented in front of the judge, and she called him a narcissist, but also she said that they wouldn't give him bail because he was a flight risk and he might abscond, and because of his prior record. But he never skipped bail, and he never absconded. He went into asylum, as was his legal right, as a political refugee. So I'm surprised that the lawyers haven't come onto that first bit, that what the hell is he doing even asking for bail?
But they gave a quasi answer in response. And Joe, you put this the best way, because I think you're onto the terminology better, Joe. But didn't you? How did you describe it? That they left it that basically because his case isn't a real case. They are essentially saying because his case is not real and because there's no reason why we have him in there. There's no reason.
We
why
don't
we
have
can
a
take him
reason
out
to
either.
hold him, so we can't legally get rid of him either because we can't. Yeah.
Do you even hear
something
this?
along those lines.
This is not rationality. This is not justice. This is not any normal sane person. Do you think these lawyers don't have a clue how crazy, batshit crazy this sounds? Do you really think they haven't got a clue? Because I know that they know what they're doing and they don't give a shit. Our only hope, I think, is to move away from the CIA and weapons military complex judges and get up to the next rung. Because those judges have way more to lose if their findings don't work out. You know, if with the people, they have got public profiles, they have heard other courts, they put every other decision they've ever made into jeopardy if they make such a shit decision. So, I mean, my hope would be for the Supreme Court, but Joe, I don't know if you know, Kim.com's case here for extradition to the USA is not going very well. He's got all the money in the world and cannot fight it himself, can he, Joe?
Yeah, well, that's the problem, really. It's when the legal system doesn't follow the rules. When there's a judge who just ignores the reality and just says, well, this is the way it is. No, you can't do that because I won't allow it, but not actually give you any legal recourse. And when you go to try and get legal recourse, you get told, no, you can't do that because this is an extradition trial, not a civil trial. Or so, so there's always some legal technicality where they can say you can't do this. And I think John Kiriakou said, the system's rigged. You're not going to get justice. It's about survival, and so essentially that's all it is. It's not about justice because you can't get justice. You can't legally say I want this and this is going to happen. I mean, because we all know he shouldn't be in prison. There's no charge. What is he doing? So
how do we unravel all that?
It's a matter of it's a matter of survival, and certainly the legal experts are working hard to try and find their way through that, and they keep on trying different things and they keep on getting shut down. But yeah, that's the way.
I mean, are we worried that the lawyers aren't doing their job? Because we do know that we've got 12 lawyers on this and they're all commenting to each other and they're in parts of communities. I mean, there is a bit of a southern community and a northern hemisphere community of the lawyers, but we certainly have a lot of clever people on this. Unless the funding has got to the point where we're not able to fund the right amount for the lawyers that we need to get the right job. But you'd think that these people could easily ravel apart these ridiculous quasi arguments. They can use the small print, but why aren't we able?
If you followed some of their arguments where they have put a straightforward, seemingly slam dunk argument in front of the judge, and the judge has just essentially sidestepped it and said, "Oh no, that's not relevant here," and you've left with a legal team that spent days and days preparing a legal argument that's just been sidestepped, and there's no easy way around that, because as soon as the judge, who is the be all and end all, says that this argument doesn't fly here, they're left with, well, what do we do next? And that's
the Supreme Court wasn't positive in New Zealand for Kim.com, right? And we had all these hopes that they would be held to a higher standard because they are the Supreme Court, and we would get people that were really worried about their careers there. But I mean, I guess people can just bunk their careers because it doesn't matter. It's that important that he goes down. Sod your your legal career. It doesn't matter. So probably that. I mean, I can only imagine these people are bribed to not do.
Yeah, well, the establishment's going to look after its own. And you'll never see, you don't see justice on the other hand. Well, just look at all the things that WikiLeaks have revealed about, and Julian Assange has revealed about these crooked, despicable acts that have been done. And well, Where are the war crimes trials? Where are the where are the suits? They just haven't happened. They've just been ignored and swept under the carpet. So, there is not justice being done here. It's a survival thing, and that's why we need to get Julian out. That's why we need to evacuate Julian, because it won't be a legal process that gets him in the end. It will be the conniving, torturous path of either justice or someone doing something to him.
I think probably the idea of a counter action. So, take them to court for something. And one of the things that dawned on me is that this is now attempted murder, without a doubt. I mean, you can point to 100 scenarios which show that the collective establishment is trying to murder him. Is there not an ability there? And I spoke to Craig Tuck about this, and he sounded quite excited about that idea. And I was really hoping that he'd come on tonight, but he said he's having a little bit of a family issue, so he's not. But he does want to do another Zoom meeting. So if we perhaps do these more regularly, or if we make it a Jitsi meeting or whatever it is next time, perhaps we can get some other people on.
Certainly it does turn into a point of sort of human rights or of that sort of thing. And you've seen where Nils Melzer, has just been completely ignored, the UN rapporteur on torture. He's put very strongly worded things to states, and it's his job to do that. And what's happened? They've just been ignored, or been told that he has no jurisdiction, or whatever it is. So these things that you see are, you see it as a slam dunk. It's a golden bullet. It's going to crack the case right open, and it's met with resounding silence.
Yeah.
And I think, like you were saying,
it was meant to not be political, wasn't it?
When you start,
and then suddenly we find out it doesn't matter whether it's political or not. We heard about the I have just received the words from Nikki Hager on my Gmail. Does anyone want me to read them out?
Most definitely.
Nikki has been very much supporting Free Assange New Zealand behind the scenes, and probably most of you have seen his work, or at least part of his work, which is the 1,300 journalists all signing, and professional journalists that have airtime and work for organisations have signed a statement. And this list includes Daniel Ellsberg, John Pilger, just the top names in journalism, and so many impressive names. And he's part of the reason that went ahead. Hi Alex, here are some words. I'm happy for you to read them out. I send these words to add my voice to the people around the world supporting Julian Assange in his time of great danger. Julian is in the news at the moment because of the ongoing abuses of his human rights, but I want to acknowledge him as history will remember him. One of the genuinely important people of our era. He has had a major impact on world politics since he dreamed up the idea of WikiLeaks 14 years ago. Through force of personality, intelligence, and hard work, he made WikiLeaks into something that could change the world. He's a great innovator who tried to answer the question of how publics around the world could be informed about the actions of the powerful in an era of increasing secrecy. The great whistleblowers of our times are, I believe, in part following his footsteps. At the moment, he is facing punishment precisely because of some of his most important achievements. The huge leaks on the Afghan and Iraqi wars, the State Department cables. Powerful forces are at work against him. He badly needs people to stick up for him. Part of the retaliation against him has been blackening his name, but Mandela was once denigrated as a terrorist. Daniel Ellsberg of the Pentagon Papers had his personal life attacked, but history remembers them well, and I believe the same will be the case with Julian. I look forward to the day when he is a much respected elder, invited to speak at a human rights conference. But for now, he is under attack, and he needs and greatly deserves our support. Nikki Hager, investigative journalist, New Zealand. So that just came through not very long ago. But anyway, that's Nikki's words, and I believe that he is hoping to work on an op-ed about Julian. And, he donated all the candles for our Candles for Assange last year, which was great because the first year we did it, we tried to do it with real candles in plastic cups. And you know, with the wind in Wellington, that was pretty futile, but we did manage to light them for long enough to get it going, and then the wind died down, so that was good. But Nikki Hager this year donated pretty, you know, good portion of the LED candles that we put out on the lawn of the US Embassy in Wellington, and we spelled out Candles for Assange there. So that was great to get that message in time before we potentially leave this live stream. Is anyone else keen to talk or chat, or is everyone done? Even Joe is done. Look at that. What about you, Timothy? It seems so weird. You're just around the corner, and here I am talking to you on Zoom.
I know, isn't it funny?
Should we try a jam just for fun?
Nah, not on this thing. Yeah, but we should do it another day.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll come and
I'm calling it May 18, unless we can actually do it on the ground. Then I think it's going to be May 18, another virtual, but a big one. I think we should do one in every city.
All right. Well, here I'm going to go. I'll catch you later. I've got
work. All right, my dear. Thank you.
Right, later. Welcome.
Patrick. Bye. Bye, Timothy. Patrick, would you like to end? I think you can officially end our live stream because Joe Booth's gone offline. Maybe he had to go to bed.
I should officially end the live stream.
I am still here. I'm just.
Oh.
Okay. So I hope we can have a live stream like this very soon again. Faced, more topic based. What can we do? What should we change? Because I don't know if you know, here in Germany I have super heavy problems to keep the group in once. You know, it's falling apart.
Yes,
People,
this is the problem everywhere. Everyone is having
everywhere.
this, and there's 2 protests in every city. And often I think it's people whispering in one ear and whispering in another ear and getting people to argue who are both genuine supporters, quite often arguing with each other. But I think that there's whispering going on that causes them to do that. And I've seen it so many times. It's either people like taking over the platform or trying to commandeer it for their own cause or a political party or whatever. Usually it's something to do with their own desires or problems that causes that, in my opinion.
At this moment, I have no possibility to change the website. You know, I can't. You know, I had a guy who is running this website for me, and now
he got sick, didn't he?
Sorry.
He got sick, didn't he?
Yeah, he's a little bit sick, but now he got involved so much in all these problems here in Germany. So I received an email, and I don't know how to handle this because I can't work probably.
So you're finding it difficult to work because people are spreading disinformation?
Oh, 80% of my energy I have to spend on what's going on in the group and all these arguing and problems. And normally I can have 100% working on Mr. Assange and not only 20.
Well, maybe your problem is trying to control it too much and be in charge too much.
No, it's not about control or in charge.
But I mean, just let them be their organic, do what they want.
I'm very laissez-faire. They can do what they want. But if it's about that people I don't know have teams which make decisions about money for donation money and telling me this, I don't know. I have to.
Well, I don't know anyone getting donation money for Candles for Assange. If they're doing it under our name,
exactly.
I'm not getting any.
Exactly.
So why should they?
Exactly, but they were planning to collect money in the name of Candles for Assange, and I got noticed of this and said, "Oh wow, why are you collecting money in the name of Candles for Assange? Who are you?" And there are a lot of small and bigger problems.
Well, I mean, I don't have a trouble with that if they call themselves free, you know, Candles for Assange Germany or Candles for Assange Hamburg. What I have a problem is that I've been trying very hard not to look like a grifter, and if people go around fundraising, scrupulously everywhere on the basis of the name, then that sort of
Exactly.
You know, my decision to not fundraise is not working, is it? But I think you can just let go of those people and let them run their things and just check it. I mean, I've just really been taking a role of listing protests and not getting involved and trying. I do end up being an agony aunt sometimes, but I think trying not to get involved in the arguments and trying to talk to both sides is the best option. And don't worry about them fundraising. If they're doing it under Candles for Assange, I will talk to them. You can talk to them. If they're doing it under Candles for Assange Frankfurt, then let them. I think Larice did that for Candles for Assange in Canberra to try and get the candles on the Parliament lawn, which they did. And at first, I was a little bit sceptical about that. And I didn't really want that because I had gone with the Unity 4J way of doing it and not going into funding. But they did it anyway. So they got the money that they needed. And I kind of felt like, God, I should do this too. So Patrick, maybe we should just properly fundraise big style for Candles for Assange. And therefore, we can just say those groups are doing their own actions, and it's Candles for Assange Germany or Candles for Assange Frankfurt or whatever it is that you want to call it. But I think the key is to have a light touch.
Everybody is free to do what they want. There's no
Even
problem.
if they call themselves Candles for Assange?
There are some red lines and there's some borders.
Yeah.
Don't change the logo. Don't use the name for things which are not in the purpose.
Right. Yeah, no, that's fair.
And we have a lot of people here in Europe, especially in Germany. And you know by yourself, as much people you have, as much people you have in this group who are not okay, who are maybe try to do their own stuff or use your name for some other purposes.
Look, it's not, I don't think something we should take ownership of. I think we should just try and guide and say, hey, let's do a protest on this date. If we want to fundraise, let's take initiative to do that, but don't get angry at other people doing it. I think go with it and just have a light touch, and don't, because the problem with all these groups is that it comes down to egos. It comes down to ego against ego. And I think the thing is just to enjoy the success of listing these things and take a sort of little bit of a backseat in terms of not trying to control them, not trying to say what they can and cannot do. And if they use your logo and they use it for an incorrect, different thing, then say, of course, pull them up on it. If they fund and call themselves Candles for Assange and not specifically like Candles for Assange Chicago, there's a group, there's many groups around the world. And if they're fundraising, I don't give a shit, actually. Whatever needs to happen in order for them to do their thing. I think the key is to have a light touch. If we're doing what we're doing, which is basically listing and instigating as many protests as we can. Now, this is a different story, and solo vigils are another story again. If we're going to do online vigils, this might be the new format. Maybe we just do these and we try and encourage everyone to do their own city one. We try and get smaller in that we go to a smaller group of people and go live with only Kiwis and only people from Sydney. Maybe we need to start localizing our internet groups, is I guess what I'm saying. But I don't think it helps to worry about this group doesn't like that group. This group has got left-wing politicians. This one's got right-wing. I think this is just bullshit. This is just bullshit to even get wasting time.
It's just about, there must be the possibility to work effectively.
Yeah, that would be great. But you've got a website that's different to my website, and that's why I've been always keen to try and make them talk to each other. So what probably the answer here is that we make Candles for Assange DE and candlesforassange.com the same website, and then we can control that. If someone else is controlling Candles for Assange DE and they're not doing it in the spirit of what it was meant to be, then I don't give them permission anymore to use it, and neither should you, Patrick. So we can both say that, and I think that's all right. What do you think, Ilvi? Do you have any feelings on this topic of groups that are fighting and having troubles like this? Have you had any experience like that in Vienna?
Well, I did really, or not really, I don't know. It's like we came together here over a Facebook group, and I did the graphics Wait now, hang on a second. My husband is giving out.
Okay.
I just closed the door. So,
I just say,
sorry.
That's all right. And so just point out that Yvonne is from Vienna and has done a really great job. Patrick, do you know Yvonne? Oh, he's gone. Okay.
We spoke once, actually.
I'm here.
Oh, you're here. Sorry, he's just muted himself temporarily. I was just asking Patrick if you guys know each other, because you guys must, because it's more European based, right?
Maybe I know you under another name. Also wahrscheinlich kenne ich dich unter Holzmeier Cox, oder?
Genau. Ja, wir haben gesprochen.
Nein, das ist ein bisschen scheiße. Nein, Deutsche.
So,
ich habe 3 Worte verstanden.
we are friends on Facebook.
Facebook,
but actually
exactly,
we have never met.
Yeah, exactly. I've got 2 names.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, well, not really, but I mean, we had to kind of fight to get together, kind of thing, because there's like all these different personalities. And I started off doing the graphics, and so these people were the group that we started together, they are very professional, and they were like, oh, we need this and this. So I was getting quite annoyed and stuff. And it made me about my own ego. It made me question my own ego, actually. And it's sometimes, well, why am I doing this? And am I doing this now for me, or am I doing this for the cause, you know? And so I found it actually quite an awakening experience in that respect. And I had to like kind of, well, yeah, bow down to these people. It sounds a bit weird, but you know, I didn't even meet them. I hadn't even met them. And they were on the phone going, yeah, do this. And I had to really, yeah, think about it and do what they said, basically, you know. And I think, like, of course, people are going to fight and stuff. That's going to be, but I try to, you
tell them they can go and make their own graphics. That's what probably I would tell them, to take their graphics and stick them up their butt. Excuse me. But you know, like when someone's doing graphics on MS Paint in between tweets and Facebook posts and trying to organize people coming out to the thing and also fighting 3 MPs, the last thing they need is people going, oh, I don't like that letter. And, you know, I understand.
I don't know. That's just, I suppose you get used to it, because that's like the Austrian way, or the German, you know, they're kind of, they want things to be perfect or look perfect. So I kind of, but yeah. Did
they offer to do it though? This is what I'm interested in. These people that criticize, are they offering to do it? Because that's the thing.
I don't think they were all working, and I was at working, you know. But I mean, it did annoy me and stuff, but I just, it did make me think about that. Yeah, it's not worth it, you know, to fight, like, because the cause is bigger than me or my ego or how I feel, or it's bigger than that, you know. And
I find one of the problems, I'm very sarcastic, because I do feel like, you know, you get to the point where you told people that Trump was going to win and he wins, and yeah, okay, it was not really a great prize. And then you said like Russiagate was fake and no one believes you and they just think you're crazy. And you know, you say, oh, this chemical weapons thing, this is fake, oh, here's the proof, you know, oh, it's not in the media. You know, you're constantly presented with this kind of reality of life, which is completely mirror world to what's going on out there. So it makes you bash your head repeatedly. But also the other people that have got to the place where they're doing the promoting from there, they've also been attacked, and they've also probably had their own issues. Don't you agree? You know, sort of
straight out of the JTRIG, you know, playbook. You know, the deny, disrupt, degrade, deceive. You know, just break apart these movements just by putting that little bit in, and people, they know exactly what your points of pain are, and they'll just push on them.
And it's easy to get sarcastic and also start talking at 1,000,000 miles an hour and expect everyone to be onto the same wavelength as you are because you spend so long speaking to other activists, so you think the whole world's like that. This is what the silo is doing to everyone, and the only comfort is that it's doing to them too. All right, well, I was wondering whether we should share any video or something like that to feed it out with, or should I just do let the light in, or would anyone else like to say any more? Patrick, you were still talking and I interrupted you. You've gone again. So maybe, unless someone else wants to say more, Debs, you're still there, but you're not speaking up at the moment. So what do you think, Joe? Should we play a video and
we can
lead
have a
out?
musical interlude and see if anyone
okay.
I'm still here.
Any last requests?
Oh, you're still there. Yay. Sorry, Patrick. I do have a habit of breaking in and then go off on a tangent. I'm sorry. I'm not the perfect interviewer.
Sorry.
That's all good.
Yeah, so I wanted to hear from Ilvi because I think what you are thinking is it's only you, and it's not, Patrick. It's Melbourne, it's Sydney, it's Mexico, it's London.
These same techniques are used around the world.
Same techniques, and it's so frustrating. So don't listen to it, and don't think that the person you're hearing the terrible thing from, the negative thing from, they might not be the bad person. This is what I keep on trying to get through to people, is that it's not necessarily that person, it's what they're being whispered somewhere or manipulated into thinking.
Someone's fed them some disinfo and they're just spreading it on without knowing.
We can, if you want, Patrick, you can take people through some stuff and share your screen if you want, but I think your resolution is quite low. I don't know how that works with sharing screens.
Okay. Yeah? I'm okay. I have no idea about a video to show. Maybe the last video we make for these
yes,
Solo Vigil thing.
Yes, that's a great idea. I'll do that.
Then I say thank you for having me, and I hope everything works out fine and we can work effectively in future. And
I think we still have to keep on doing this online though. I think we've got to do it, even if we've got to pretend that it's not going to change, but also pretend that we might be able to be back out there on the 18th of May, but I doubt it, but yeah. I was hoping to get Action for Assange on because those guys are amazing. They're storming out, and there's Steve from Slow News Day who's awesome. He's got the most wicked humor. If you want to see a funny tweet on politics, it's great. And Andrew, who was in the Sydney protest too, Andrew Ziglin. Taylor Hudak, who's doing an amazing job of being a very, very reliable and believable media personality for Julian, which is what we need, someone who knows what they're doing as a professional. Look, this is going to be a real good test if I can actually achieve this, because
there's a GoFundMe campaign for the Anything to Say sculpture. You definitely all know about.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And you say that there's someone working on a Chelsea Manning update for her new sex. Is this coming through? Can you hear the music?
No.
Go share screen and make sure you tick the share sound button.
Okay. That was really great. Doesn't it make you feel good?